are the starting goalies. Don Beaupre for the North Stars on the left, the Blackhawks, Murray, Bannerman.
And Bannerman starting in spite of the fact that Sauvé had that great game in Long Island last night. But both of these guys have really shouldered the load. Beaupre playing 24 games or 25. And Bannerman also playing 25 games out of the 40 that both of these teams have played. So they're going with their aces tonight. This is a big game for both teams, obviously.
Blackhawks 38 points, North Stars 35, and the game is underway. Cicerelli controls the puck back to the defense for Minnesota. And back will go Jack O'Callahan to play the puck for Chicago. Broughton gets in his way. A chance for Bukestad, who's been hot wide. And it's Savard playing the puck to Steve Larmer. He's the right wing. Secord is the left wing. Steve Larmer to Secord. Back to Larmer over the line. And Broughton intercepts. Hands it to O'Callahan. He's got Secord, the save by Beaupre. As O'Callahan set up Secord right in front.
Brilliant save by Beaupre. He didn't have much choice. He knew someone was coming from the side to deflect. He stacked the pads and stopped him.
Bannerman out of the crease will play the puck to the flashy Savard. He can't get out. Both teams looking to make a line change. No score. First minute of play at Chicago Stadium. This is Dave Langevin clearing the puck out, and DuPont will shoot it back in. It's offside against Chicago. The referee for tonight's game is Kerry Fraser, and he'll be working. There's Kerry.
A face that had to try hard to get the respect of National Hockey Leaguers. Ron Finn will be working as one of his linesmen tonight. Mark Vines will be the other one. And you know, when a referee comes into the league and has a cute little baby face like Kerry Fraser, it usually takes a couple of years to gain the respect. A Clark Gable figure commands respect right away. Kerry Fraser's a little guy with blonde hair and rosy cheeks, but he does a good job.
Blackhawks in their white home sweaters. Bergevin drilling the puck in. Bellows for Minnesota, shadowed by Watson. Here's Presley trying to move in front and unable to. North Stars in their own zone. Gordy Roberts, their veteran defenseman, hit by Presley. Now Bellows has it get away. Watson's shot hits a stick. And here's the veteran Dennis Marouk. Has Bellows flying offside on the right wing.
Bellows was flying down the right side, and Dennis Marouk is one of the better puck handlers in the National Hockey League. Just went offside. There's a guy that looks older, who's in his first year as coach of the Minnesota North Stars. Played his NHL career with the New York Islanders. And Ken, it was interesting to note who the Blackhawks matched against Minnesota's top line. They almost always match Troy Murray's line against the top offensive line on the other team. In this case, they went with their top line, which was Denny Savard's. I'm wondering if that's going to be the pattern tonight.
Feeling each other out, at least for the moment. North Stars shoot it in. Bergevin bumped by Marouk. Yaremchuk loses the puck, and a chance for Bellows. Bellows knocked off stride, and Captain Bob Murray for the Hawks. Up to Watson. Minnesota doing some good forechecking.
That's what they have to do to keep the Hawks off stride. Otherwise, play will be all in their end.
Marouk and Bellows behind the net. And Bob Murray tackles his man, and now the Blackhawks look to move up ice. And Bergevin's pass too far for Yaremchuk, and it'll be icing called against Minnesota. Well, the Blackhawks, as we mentioned, have been red hot lately, Bill. And here at home, they have lost only one of their last 8 games.
Well, they started slowly, and they really picked it up, and a lot of people theorized that one of the reasons for their slow start, besides the fact that they played on the road, there's Bob Pulford, who isn't as concerned now as he was a month and a half ago when they weren't going, but there was very little competition in training camp apparently this year, and some people feel that that was one of the reasons for the slow start. There wasn't that real spirited intensity that you have to have at the beginning of the season to get rolling.
2 minutes, 8 seconds gone. First period of play. Standing room only here at the stadium in Chicago. It's Troy Murray against Keith Acton for this faceoff near Murray Bannerman. And Olczyk, the Chicago native, will come in to replace Murray for the faceoff. Acton centering Graham and McKegney. Troy Murray's line with Olczyk, and Keith Brown, a sometime defenseman, moved up to the right wing. Now McKegney comes in for Minnesota for the draw. Hawks win the draw, and this is DuPont teamed on defense with Ben Wilson. The pass to Troy Murray. Olczyk, the quick shot and a glove save by Beaupre. The score here in Chicago, the Blackhawks nothing, the North Stars no score.
Hey, that girl's checking us out.
She pretty?
Beautiful.
Then fix those dry, chapped lips.
They're hurting, and dragging this hard, waxy stick over them hurts them more.
Try new Bliss Stick. It's great.
Bliss Stick?
Won't hurt going on those sore lips.
It really doesn't hurt. Mmm, creamy.
And real medicine helps healing.
Smooth. She's coming over.
Meet my sister.
Bliss Stick, the soft touch for chapped lips.
Set for the face-off near North Stars goalie Don Beaupre. No score, just underway.
Olczyk's back in because Troy Murray was thrown out again. He's really trying to anticipate the drop from linesman Ron Finn and cheating just a little too much. Ron says, see you later, but Olczyk's a trained centerman. He's pretty good on the draws.
Acton wins this face-off. Here's Hartsburg, the captain of Minnesota. On the wing, Graham Bump gets the puck out of the Hawks' control. I'm surprised, Bill Clement, that the Blackhawks have not been more commanding, more impressive here in the early going. Olczyk, a shot. Stick save, Beaupre. Ben Wilson unable to keep the puck in, and DuPont covers up. This is Keith Brown for the Blackhawks. Ed Hospodar will go back for Minnesota. Up to McKegney. Acton has to put on the brakes as Graham offside on the right wing.
Acton had Graham going and delayed just a touch too long. When those players are going, the centerman has a duty of actually spotting those wingers going and making sure it gets in there.
Well, Ed Olczyk, a native of Chicago, still only 19 years of age, and was a member of the '84 U.S. Olympic team.
He's a kid playing in a man's game in the major leagues, but he's a big, strong kid for 19 years old. He's listed at 6'2" and 195 pounds. And really a favorite here. He lives at home with his folks, so the temptation of wine, women, and song is not there. He'll probably be a real straight shooter for a few years and end up a solid National Hockey Leaguer without the temptations of living in a strange city.
For this matchup, Hawks and North Stars, the first few minutes have been rather timid. Now the Hawks have Al Secord on the left wing against the North Stars right wing, Willie Plett. And the crowd sensed that matchup immediately. This is Bill Gardner. Here's O'Callahan and a shot wide. Langevin for Minnesota. He's on defense with Giles around to Payne, who takes a bump from O'Callahan. Baruch trying to help out. Both teams with sort of a mishmash fourth line on the ice now. Gardner intercepts the feed for Secord just out of his reach. That's Secord leaning on Plett. And the North Stars ice the puck, and that'll stop play with 16:21 to go in the first period. At Chicago Stadium, there's no score.
You don't just watch an NHL game, you feel it. Feel the power, the speed. Feel the strength, the grace. Magic. NHL hockey. Feel the thunder.
Very timid start considering the two teams involved. They usually come out flying. They usually have a lot of body contact and usually rough it up and try to intimidate right from the start. It hasn't happened here in the first period. Puck in the North Star zone. Payne is back to Marouk. Plets the wing. The pass too far. And Doug Wilson, the former Norris Trophy winner, with a puck for Chicago. Plett takes a dump. The crowd loves it here in Chicago now. He's behind the net with a puck. He's got Payne in front, unable to get the pass to him, and the North Stars will have to clear the zone.
Big Willie had him in front, but just wasn't able to get it to him. Willie doesn't have the best hands in the world, but he has a mean streak that'll keep him in the league for another couple of years.
This is Ed Olczyk. Pass for Patterson behind him. Payne has him covered, bumps Olczyk, and here's Plett backhanding it in, and both teams looking to change players on the go.
Interesting, too, Ken, that Olczyk is out there against Plett. Bob Pulford knows how big and tough Willie Plett is. He must have confidence in Olczyk as a tough kid to put him out there against Willie Plett.
Cicerelli centers Broughton. Good chance, and the save by Bannerman. The North Stars with their big line, Broughton centering Bukestad and Cicerelli, and the Hawks feel that immediate pressure and ice the puck. Well, ESPN's live Sunday night hockey action continues Sunday, January 12th from Madison Square Garden. It'll be the Norris Division leading St. Louis Blues and the New York Rangers. And what a game that should be, as the Blues are the other team in the Norris Division battling for the top spots with the North Stars and the Blackhawks. Brian Sutter, Bernie Federko and company. The Blues a very hard-working team against the Rangers and Barry Beck. That'll be Sunday, January 12th, as St. Louis travels to the Big Apple here on ESPN. No score here, first period. Larmer gets the puck in front, and it's played by Minnesota. Dino Ciccarelli hands the puck to Larmer, and DuPont controls for Chicago. Quickly, Ben Wilson a feed onto the stick of Savard to Secord. Steve Larmer unable to get the puck in the slot, and breaking out is youngster Scott Bukestad. Now Broughton, a little center, breaking in. He fakes, gets behind the goal, and Bannerman stops his sliding centering pass.
He knew what he wanted to do. He just wasn't able to get control of the puck in time to let it go.
Here's Ciccarelli. There's no love affair between Chicago fans and Ciccarelli as Bukestad's shot goes off Bob Murray's stick into the crowd.
Tell me Scott Bukestad isn't hot. 15 goals in the last 13 games.
Neil Broughton with a very good play. He is smallish and very shifty.
He's real slippery, as you can see. Slides between both defensemen, makes his move, and realizes he's too far. He's gone past the net and actually just tries to slip it back out in hopes that it would either bounce in off of Bannerman or somebody else would pick it up. But Bannerman was down, and unless Broughton got the puck up, Bannerman was going to make the save, as he did.
5:31 gone, first period. Blackhawks take the puck in their own zone. Bergevin, the second-year defenseman, helped out by the veteran Bob Murray. Up front, Yaremchuk centering a line for Chicago with Presley and Watson, a pair of youngsters. Yaremchuk covering up in his own zone, harassed by Brian Bellows, and taken into the board. Centering effort, a shot. Marouk robbed by Bannerman. Dennis Marouk had a marvelous scoring opportunity. Now Presley takes an offside pass, and the faceoff will come back inside the Chicago blue line.
Well, Marouk's good scoring opportunity came from a brilliant pass by Kent Nilsson, who has the ability, as players say, to see the big play. Here's Kent Nilsson sliding it out to Marouk, and it might look like an innocent pass, but there was a hawk between Marouk and Kent Nilsson. The play is cleared to the side. Kent Nilsson has the ability, Ken, to see the big play, and it's a term that you can't apply to many players when you're talking about their abilities. To most guys, it's a blur of colors when they get in a jam. To Kent Nilsson, to Denny Savard, Wayne Gretzky, and the great ones, they have the ability to see that big play every time.
It's amazing how they can, I guess, see things very slowly compared to the rest of us. And
just one time, I would like to sit in their heads and look through their eyes to just see what it looked like. One time.
It looks easy on television or up here, but down on the ice for most people, things move in a hurry, and it's crowded. Here's Watson turning in around Hospodar, centers out of the reach. A penalty in front. Presley was knocked down from behind by Craig Hartsburg. He'll pick up a cross-checking penalty. It's the North Stars nothing, the Blackhawks no score.
You're gonna love the way we bring you closer every day. You're gonna love our airline. Midway, our spirit will lift you. Midway, our spirit will lift you. Midway, our spirit will lift you.
Well, sometimes goalies don't wait for defensemen to help them protect their areas. The puck came in front. There's Don Beaupre helping clear his own area.
Hartsburg initially cross-checked.
It was almost as if he didn't need to do it because Hartsburg was moving him out of there. However, he asserted himself, and I guess he wants to let it be known that anybody's fair game if they get near his crease.
Don Beaupre gets the 2-minute cross-checking penalty as Hartsburg had semi-cross-checked Wayne Presley. The Blackhawks with the man advantage. There's no score. Still 13:32 to go in this opening period. Blackhawks on the power play have been successful 29% of the time. Penalty killing, the North Stars successful 76% of the time. Nothing really that unusual about any of those figures.
No, but at home, Chicago was 32.2 on the power play, so they're a little stronger at home, as most teams are on their power play.
Keith Brown with Ben Wilson. This is old. Hawks get the puck in. Back is Kurt Giles, taken out by Ben Wilson. Watson is number 11, trying to pry the puck loose. Then big Tony McKegney comes in. And a penalty will be called. Kerry Fraser up with the arm. And a penalty will be called against the Blackhawks for holding. And very quickly that evens things up as Ben Wilson goes into the penalty box to join Dennis Marouk, who is serving the penalty to goaltender Don Beaupre.
Well, we'll see just how good a penalty it was. Here's Ben Wilson holding on to Tony McKegney's stick. Kerry Fraser, as you can see, has right in the center of your screen a perfect vantage point. And that'll even it. No more power play.
Well, Ben Wilson picks up the penalty at 7:05. Don Beaupre's penalty called at 6:28. For the next 1 minute and 23 seconds, both teams will be playing one man short.
You know, I'm happy to see him call that penalty. I'll tell you why. Before the season started, the National Hockey League released a memo stating that they were going to enforce a lot of rules in a much stricter fashion. One of them was players holding other players' sticks. And I've yet to see it called this year, and I will commend Kerry Fraser for following through on that, because he's the first referee I've seen call those as more strictly than they did in the past.
Gordy Roberts for Minnesota with Nielsen and Pryor, and the North Stars are offside. And of course, when you play a man short on each side, it tends to open things up a little bit, and it really opens things up for the fellows who can fly a little bit. There's Chris Pryor. He's a youngster just called up, University of New Hampshire product, who hails from St. Paul, Minnesota, just 24 years of age, and getting an opportunity to play on defense with Gordy Roberts here, with Nielsen up front along with Bellows. Well, the fellow who can go on the open ice is Dennis Savard.
He sure can. We should talk about the 4-on-4 situations when we get a chance.
Savard is on for the Blackhawks with Secord, O'Callahan, and Doug Wilson. Here come the North Stars. Nielsen, a shifty pass. Gordy Roberts looking for Nielsen in the slot. And O'Callahan does a good job for the Blackhawks. No score, first period. Both teams a man short. Al Secord, number 20, without the helmet. And O'Callahan, a good job to tip the puck to Doug Wilson. O'Callahan, a number defenseman who played on the U.S. Olympic team in 1980, has really matured the last few years. Secord, a shot, and Beaupre the save. It looked like that rising shot, Bill Clement, caught goaltender Beaupre high, maybe in the shoulder area.
It looked like it caught him in the shoulder. Al Secord has one of the hardest shots on the Blackhawk team. When he can let it go from that range, he's always dangerous. I'm not even sure Don Beaupre had a chance to react other than to move his neck out of the way. You can see Secord, the deep slot, perfect place to shoot from, gets it up. And goalies think naturally, my neck and my Adam's apple, and they try and move to the side and get their shoulders up. It's half self-preservation and half trying to stop the puck when it gets up that high, but it's a tremendous drive. A number of years ago, goalies didn't have very good padding around their shoulders, and I think we would have been watching at this moment a Don Beaupre on his back, but with better equipment, he's fine.
20 seconds left in the Minnesota penalty. Both teams are a man short. Bukestad to Broughton. Giles on defense along with Hartsburg, who owns the puck here. Broughton bumped by Bergevin, chasing his own pass. Troy Murray cutting in. He shoots. Oh, he scored! Steve Larmer was there. Beaupre made the initial save.
And then actually hooked the puck into the net himself, pulling his stick back. Troy Murray, considered the best two-way player by his coaching staff. He was hulking up to move in. You could tell he wanted to cut in front. Blew around Giles. Didn't get much wood on it, but it was enough when Beaupre helped it to get into the net. Having a wonderful year for the Blackhawks. Troy Murray usually has to play against the top line and the other team. And even in spite of that, is leading this team in the plus-minus category. He has a higher plus rating than any other player, meaning he's been on the ice for more goals for than against at even strength. And that's quite a tribute for somebody that has to play against the Gretzkys and the Marcel Dionnes.
Blackhawks lead 1-0. The play is offside. 23rd goal of the year for Troy Murray. Let's get some updates now from Jim Kelly.
Okay, Kenny, around the NHL tonight, the LA Kings with that 3-1 lead against the Sabres in Buffalo in the second period. Detroit and our ex-ESPN colleague Brad Park with a 2-goal lead against the Leafs. That's also in the second. 4-0 Quebec sticking it to the Rangers in Manhattan, also in the second period. Early in the first, Winnipeg 3, Vancouver 0, and Edmonton on top over Calgary 4-1 in the first. Gretzky gets his 28th.
Here, 1-0 Blackhawks on the goal by Troy Murray. He and Dennis Savard now lead the Hawks with 23 goals each. 8:29 the time of the goal. Minnesota is back at full strength. Blackhawks are a man short for 12 seconds. North Stars power play. Hartsburg over to Kent Nielsen. The shot right on the rebound, and Bukestad unable to get his stick on the puck, and it comes over the blue line. Brought back in by Nielsen offside.
What a drive by Kent Nilsson. Has one of the hardest shots in the National Hockey League. And if you give him time from almost any angle, he can pick a corner. And unless a goalie is ready to move, can score from just about anywhere. And we talked about playing 4 aside. The new rule in the league this year is that when teams get coincidental minors, they play at full strength. The reason we didn't see it on that last instance was that Minnesota got a penalty first, then Chicago did. It's really a shame. You know, it takes away the greatness of players like Neil Broughton, Denny Savard, and Kent Nilsson, and I think really removes a lot of the art form from some of the beautiful puck handlers in the league.
Vanderman leaves the puck. Troy Murray's goal came 1 second after Marouk, who was serving Beaupre's penalty, came on the ice. Thus the Blackhawks technically scoring while they were a man short. Now Blackhawks back at full strength. And here comes Doug Wilson, the all-star defenseman. He's got a great shot, and Beaupre makes the save. And he smothers the puck to stop play. Hawks lead it 1-0. Let's go to our sports center and Tom Meads.
Thank you very much, Ken. Tonight in Toronto, another Norris Division war. Detroit and Toronto going at it. John Ogrodnik shoots from the left point. Rebound. Comes out to Ron Duguay, but Probert is there to knock in the second rebound. Detroit leads at 5-3, trying to get their first win for new coach Brad Park.
10:25 is the time remaining here in period 1. The Hawks lead it on Troy Murray's goal, and both teams back at full strength for this faceoff near Don Beaupre, who has been tested by a pair of wicked drives, first Secord and then Doug Wilson. Here's a shot right on from Bob Murray. The Hawks have outshot Minnesota 7-3. Now Bergevin and Flett get into it at the penalty bench, and play is stopped. Bergevin and Willie Flett.
Bergevin got Willie Plett's sweater over his head when the whole thing started, and it kind of puts you at a disadvantage when you can't see what you're punching at. But believe it or not, I've seen guys do pretty well in fights even with their sweaters over their heads. You can still see Willie with his sweater over his head.
Little late shot there from Willie Flett. Well, Bergevin and Flett are broken up. Hawks lead by a goal. It's 1-0 Chicago.
Give me a light. No. Bud Light.
If you just ask for a light beer,
Thanks.
you never know what you'll get.
Nah. Give me a light. No, Bud Light.
So if you want the less filling light beer with the first name and taste, don't just ask for a light beer.
Give me a light.
Ask them to bring out their best.
Bud Light.
Bud Light. Because everything else is just a light.
Big Willie Flett getting a chance to cool his heels. He's a big, strong guy, Ken, but the other day I was watching Chicago practice and had a chance to see Mark Bergevin getting an equipment repair, and he had to take his jersey off. This kid's built pretty well. I think Willie knew right away he had his hands full.
Willie Flett has had a long career in the NHL. He's in his 10th season, and he is a formidable force out on the ice. Now Kerry Fraser with Blackhawks captain Bob Murray discussing the penalties being called here.
You could see Willie checking out his knuckles. He must have got a hold of something, probably Bergevin's helmet. As we mentioned, he was at a disadvantage not seeing where he was punching, and very often you can break your hand hitting someone's helmet, but I think Willie's all right, otherwise he would be leaving the ice surface.
Flett and Bergevin both pick up fighting penalties at 9:46.
Willie's kind of a dinosaur by NHL standards. He's a big, slow guy that really doesn't fit into the new hockey player of today, who is usually more offensive-minded, but he has that mean streak in him that Lou Nanne wanted to try and offset some of the lack of it that they had with the Minnesota North Stars, and they've acquired Tim Koulis. You know, I'm actually surprised that they didn't get Tim Koulis into the game. He's a rock'em sock'em type player that Lorne Henning really liked. He coached him in the minors, and Tim Koulis is a tough guy that's really a team man. Between Hospodar, Koulis, and Plett, they have a formidable backup for all of the smaller guys on the team. Sort of surprised that he didn't try and stir it up. Maybe he thought he'd let sleeping dogs lie and hoped that the Hawks didn't come out really flying, which they really didn't in the early going, and then if he had to use him.
Biggest surprise to this point has been the fact that the Hawks did not dominate early. Bellows feeding in front. Payne the shot. He's robbed by Bannerman. Payne again with a puck. Steve Payne taken out by Bob Murray. Wayne Presley with it. He's checked by Marouk, who goes down. Presley breaking his stick. Blackhawks would just like to get a face-off. And finally up it comes to Bill Watson, who breaks out with Ken Yaremchuk. Back to Watson with Presley, and Kurt Giles gets the puck. Too far for Payne, kept in by Ben Wilson. Now the Hawks are dangerous. Presley in front for Watson, and it's tipped away. Centering pass broken up by Giles. Payne gets the puck to Bellows. Hawks 1-0. Minnesota changing lines, and that left Bellows all alone, and finally the puck held for a faceoff.
With big Ben Wilson muscling Brian Bellows along the boards, and if anybody can throw his weight around when he decides to, it's Ben Wilson. Probably not motivated as much as the Blackhawks would like game in and game out, but also has a mean streak in him, and when he decides to really get wound up and get psyched up for a game, he really can be a force back there. They use him as their second unit on the power play. Very good offensive-minded, and when he's concentrating, can be a force defensively as well. And Ken, I wanted to mention with that young line that the Blackhawks have out there, Watson along with Yaremchuk and Presley, when they use that line, watch for them in the Minnesota zone putting on a lot of attack. They're all offensive-minded players, but they're also very young and not known for their defensive style. I'm really surprised that the Hawks have those three together. Watch for them getting in trouble in their own end because they're so young.
Here's Pryor's shot, and the save by Bannerman. DuPont behind the Blackhawk net, trying to get the puck up to Olczyk. He's well covered as the youngster Pryor pinches in. Keith Acton springs it loose. Trying to get away from DuPont is the former Canadian Acton. And in front, Ben Wilson, the former Flyer, takes over quickly to Troy Murray. And he'll just dump it in for the Blackhawks. Olczyk digs it out, and Olczyk overskates it. Finally, DuPont keeps it in. And it's Keith Brown on the far side. This game has been rather conservative for these two teams. DuPont's pass goes wide. Troy Murray crunches Tony McKegney, but Acton brings it out. He's got Graham with him, and McKegney. Here's Graham. And Bannerman makes the save. And that one from Dirk Graham almost beat Murray Bannerman. Now Keith Acton mixing it up.
And you can see at the top of your screen Ben Wilson grabbing Ed Hospodar right at the top of your screen. Those are the two tough guys on the ice right now.
Acton getting together initially with Jerome DuPont, and DuPont, a player number 25, who is prone to mix it up from time to time.
Well, they probably would have been recognized as the two main combatants, but believe me, the big two would have been Hospodar and Wilson. Here's the big save that Bannerman makes on Graham. That was labeled for the corner. Bannerman making a classic skate save. Naturally didn't have time to control the rebound, would have liked to direct it at the corner, but was able to cover up anyway. Nice save. Beautiful reflexes.
Now this crowd here beginning to get into it a little more, get a little heated, as are the Hawks and the North Stars. I think, Bill, that the two teams have been playing better defense in their recent games. Neither club has played great defense this year.
Much better.
And the Hawks' key last night was their defense against the Islanders on the road for a victory. The North Stars have played superb defense, and they've come in tonight with more of a defensive posture than they have had in recent years when they've played each other, and that's dictated an unusual style tonight, at least to this point. I'm not so sure that either team can maintain a conservative defensive style, however.
I'm not sure they can either, and I'm wondering what's wrong with Keith Acton. He has looked looking as if he's, with 8 minutes and 16 seconds to go in the second period, it can't be a 5-minute major. I wonder if he's being ejected from the game.
I got the impression that Acton may have speared a little bit there, the way the stick swinging went on, and I thought there was a spear when the linesman had broken in and tried to separate everyone. We'll have to just wait and see. That's big Jerome DuPont of the Blackhawks.
Talking about what you were mentioning concerning the defensive play, when teams are playing that tight and not so wide open, it doesn't really leave the game open for the big hits early going. And very often it will be tight like that, and as soon as the game opens up and a couple of people lay big hits on other people, you'll see it get far more physical. Here are the penalties.
And Lauren Henning isn't going to be happy. Craig Hartsburg and Bob Murray, the captains. Acton gets a 5-minute penalty.
5 minutes for spearing.
He gets a spearing penalty, as I suspected, and Jerome DuPont picks up a 2-minute penalty. And of course, that does not make the North Stars very happy.
They also tagged on, I believe, an ejection penalty for intent to injure. And although DuPont got 2 minutes, well, DuPont gets 10.
A 2-minute roughing penalty to DuPont and a 10-minute misconduct. And Acton gets the game misconduct with the spearing penalty, and that's a rule that is trying to reduce the violence in the National Hockey League.
It's a good rule, too. What it's trying to, it's not only trying to curb the violence, it's trying to curb serious injuries. When you take your hockey stick and spear someone with it, spearing is using the tip of the stick. It's like taking a sword, and people get internal organs damaged severely, spleens ruptured. It's one of the crudest forms of retaliation or of attacking in the National Hockey League, and it's nice to see Kerry Fraser taking control of the game. And I think what Jerome DuPont's gripe was that he even got 2 minutes and the 10. He was sitting in there arguing with Kerry Fraser, saying, what the heck did I do?
The penalties come at 11:44 here in period 1. The Blackhawks lead 1-0. Troy Murray scored a goal, his 23rd of the year, from Mark Bergevin at 8:29. It came with the Blackhawks short-handed, just a second actually after the Blackhawks got into a short-handed situation, as both teams had been playing one man short.
Ken, I mentioned Big Tim Koulis earlier, the rough and tumble guy for the North Stars. We'll probably see him now because Lauren Henning had him ready to play center tonight. With Acton gone, that leaves a hole between Tony McKegney and Dirk Graham. It'll be interesting to see how Lauren Henning shuffles, but I imagine we'll see Tim Koulis and things could heat up.
These two teams are playing for the 4th time this season. They meet 8 times in the regular campaign. In October in Minnesota, the Hawks won 6-5. Here in Chicago in November, they played to a 5-5 tie, and then a blowout in December in Minnesota. The North Stars walloped the Blackhawks 9-2. Well, they're just about set to go. Both teams are going to play 4 skaters aside for 2 minutes. Then the Blackhawks will have the man advantage as the North Stars have the 5-minute penalty. Bob Murray, Doug Wilson, Ed Olczyk, and Troy Murray on the ice for Chicago.
Ken, are you wondering where Denny Savard is?
Troy Murray, the shot, Beaupre smothers the rebound. Let's go as we wonder about that and get an update on what's coming up in basketball from Jim Kelly.
Kenny, tomorrow it's a Big East night to remember. The defending national champion Villanova Wildcats take on Syracuse in the first game, and then Memphis State, of course, they're ranked in the top 10. The Tigers take on South Carolina tomorrow night live here on ESPN at 8 o'clock Eastern time. We'll tip it off. Bill, as we're looking at Willie Plett in the penalty box, I'm reminded of a story. You actually had a suggestion for Willie Plett not too long ago that you thought extended his NHL career.
Sure did, Jim. It had to do with his helmet. We'll get to that in a couple of minutes.
Here's Doug Wilson. Both teams a man short. Bob Murray, and they drive right on. Beaupre the save, and Giles did a superb job tying up Secord in front, looking for a rebound. Now Cicerelli wide on a feed from Broughton. And it's Secord with the puck. Savard is on. He has the puck, so there's the answer to where is Denny Savard. Al Secord had a good scoring chance earlier. Savard's in the slot. He shoots, and Beaupre makes the save on a picture-perfect setup by Al Secord. Another minute to go in the DuPont penalty. And the centering effort to Cicerelli just fails to connect as the Hawks clear the puck out, and it's Giles back for it.
Secord and Savard have been teammates for a number of years now, and they like to keep them together and watch for them to work really well together in the Minnesota North Star zone.
Olczyk, poke check nicely by Chris Pryor, and this is Kent Nielsen in his first season with the Stars. He's from Sweden, of course played with Calgary. Big Brian Bellows poke check by Troy Murray in the playoff side. Minnesota. 6:45 remaining. Period 1. Troy Murray of the Hawks has the only goal of the game.
There's another guy that I played with, Kent Nilsson, wearing that face shield, as some guys are going to. There have been a rash of eye injuries, it seems. We found out today that Charlie Simmer had been injured, and we're happy to hear before the game tonight that he's all right and will be back in a while. Here's a look at it from overhead. You could see Craig Hartsburg standing right by Beaupre and Savard all alone. Hartsburg, rather than turn and face Savard, was watching the play instead of turning to see who was open, and that left Savard all alone, and Secord was able to slip a nice pass right onto his blade.
Olczyk back to Keith Brown. His wrist shot goes wide, and Olczyk quickly there. No one in front for the Blackhawks. And Nielsen, who can be so shifty with a puck. There aren't many, are there, Bill, that can handle it better.
I think he's one of the 10 best puck handlers in the world today.
And a nice shot, and Bannerman had to close the pads in a hurry. Olczyk chasing after the pass, pulls up to avoid Pryor. Nice move. Ben Wilson, and the rising shot just misses the upper corner. Now DuPont back on. Blackhawks are at full strength. They have the power play, but here comes Minnesota. Nielsen. And the shot hits a leg and goes wide. Hawks have the man advantage for 2 minutes and 42 seconds. They lead 1-0. Savard to Bob Murray. Secord. Doug Wilson shoots just wide. Boy, what an opportunity for the Hawks here. This is Savard. Doug Wilson moves in. The save, Beaupre. And Watson's shot hits his skate right in front as he had the rebound.
And as Giles moved out to try and face Doug Wilson's shot, that left 2 Hawks alone in front with Don Beaupre and only 1 defenseman to help out. If the North Stars continue to leave him by himself with only 1 defenseman helping, the Hawks will have 2 men there all night.
Still over 2 minutes to go in the Keith Acton penalty. He picked up the 5-minute major for Spearing. Hawks power play. They have Doug Wilson and Keith Brown on the points. Steve Larmer with a puck to Secord. Savard is in front. Now Savard takes the puck. The North Stars in that box trying to keep the Hawks on the perimeter and doing a good job initially.
They have to watch out for the diagonal pass going through the box, as Savard just did. That's what they have to guard against. If they can keep them on the outside, they can kill this penalty.
That's a typical play the Hawks use to get the puck to Steve Larmer. Deflection, they score! In front, Dennis Savard. Oh, what a play!
Well, I think Don Beaupre is arguing that Savard may have directed the puck in with his skate. We'll take a look at it. Denny Savard is in front with Kurt Giles in the center of your screen, and I think Keith Brown, well, it almost looked as if Denny Savard actually did not kick it in, but angled it into the net. And if you change the direction of the puck with your skate with the intention of scoring, it should be disallowed. But it's a tough play to call. It happened so quickly. I think Keith Brown surprised everybody by slipping that through. I don't think anybody expected him to slip it through to him.
Very much a discretion judgment call for the referee, Kerry Fraser. At the time, Savard was being knocked off stride, moving his skate.
He was, but here comes the puck.
It hit him in the boot, no question.
It hit him in the boot, but when somebody is wrestling with you like that, Kerry Fraser would have to have a lot of guts to disallow that goal.
I don't believe from that evidence that one could say that Dennis Savard standing there kicked the puck with his left skate. He directed it with his skate, but with Giles on his back knocking him off balance, you have to have true intent to kick it in, and there's no question he did not, or at least it did not appear that he did, and the Hawks lead 2-0.
Oh, it happened far too quickly to call. I agree with you.
1:26 to go in the Blackhawks power play. The North Stars remain shorthanded with that major penalty, and the Blackhawks lead it 2-0. Bill Watson shooting the puck in. The power play goal at 15-18. Dennis Savard gets it. Nice defensive play by Broughton. Savard's 24th goal of the year. Now Troy Murray and Ed Olczyk. Watson is in the slot. Ben Wilson at the point, in the corner to Troy Murray. He'll let it go to Watson, the rookie from the University of Minnesota Duluth. Keith Brown back to Watson, and right through the crease is Olczyk with that effort. 35 seconds left in the man advantage for Chicago. Pryor can't clear. Olczyk a shot, hits Pryor. Then Watson robbed by Beaupre. As the North Stars had trouble, they got a little sloppy in front of their own net. Here's Neil Broughton trying to get the puck to McKegney in front and can't. Hartsburg comes up and he'll just leave it for the Hawks. 15 seconds left in the power play. Hawks have already scored once with a man advantage in this current power play, and they lead 2-0. Bob Murray keeps the puck in. Onto the stick of Savard. Look at the moves. Steve Larmer hits the post. Steve Larmer hit the post on a marvelous setup. Then Cicerelli dumped from behind, a penalty, and the save on Bellows by Bannerman, and we have end-to-end action. It's the Hawks 2 and the North Stars nothing.
Boys got what it takes. Full tilt, all out, holy flakes. Nothing halfway, nothing sweet. Just a great big crunch of good whole wheat. Yeah, hey, banana, move aside. These big flakes got nothing to hide. Wheaties, Wheaties, good whole wheat. Now go tell your mama what the big boys eat.
Doug Wilson gets the penalty.
Boy, when Denny Savard starts to shiver and shake out there with that puck, Ken, all you can do is see bodies falling and hope that he doesn't get loose. There's a look at the penalty. Dino Cicerelli, one of the best divers in the National Hockey League. Nice save by Bannerman. That had the short side labeled, it looked like, from here.
Now the North Stars, who just seconds before the Doug Wilson penalty came back to full strength, have the power play. The Dennis Savard goal is 24th of the year. Al Secord gets the assist on the Savard goal. 3 minutes to go, period 1, and the pace, Bill Clement, has really picked up.
Well, I think those 4-on-4s really opened it up, Ken. Just what I enjoy watching.
This is Bellows driving the puck in. Payne skating in, bumped by Brown, and a nice back check by Rick Patterson, who's one of the better defensive wingers in the league. Brown will pick up a charging penalty. Dirk Graham takes exception. Payne steps in, and there was no hesitation on Kerry Fraser's part, and it will be a charging penalty. He took about 4 strides and jumped on the front car of a train and rammed into him. Late in period 1, the Blackhawks 2, the North Stars no score.
Monday, a total sports night to remember. The NFL's all-pro backs do a little shake and bake in an unforgettable performance. These guys could find holes in the Iron Curtain. Then a dream matchup, Big East exclusive. Defending national champion Villanova takes on top 10 power Syracuse live. The top 10 roll call continues when Memphis State battles South Carolina on college basketball's #1 network. All Monday on the home of the United States Olympic Festival, ESPN.
With a Brown charging penalty, Bill, the Blackhawks now will be 2 men short.
And that puts them in a big hole. Give Minnesota a chance to get back in this hockey game. They're hardly out of it, but I imagine if the Blackhawks could have predicted being up 2-0, say at the end of the first period, they would have taken that at the beginning of the game.
Blackhawks' first goal at 8:29. They had been shorthanded for just 1 second. Troy Murray from Mark Bergevin. Then at 15:18, the power play goal, Savard from Secord, and add an assist to Keith Brown. Then Wilson drives the puck around the boards the length of the ice.
You know, Ken, one of the keys to that penalty from Minnesota's standpoint was that Dirk Graham held his temper and didn't retaliate and let Keith Brown leave the ice so that they have that 2-man advantage.
Very good point. North Stars setting up. This is Hartsburg. He's at 1 point. Cicerelli, Broughton, Bukestad, and Nielsen also on the ice. Here's Dino Cicerelli. Now Now Nielsen, quite a quarterback on the ice. He's number 15 in front to Broughton, just sweeping it, sort of a one-touch effort, and goes high. 2 minutes to go in the period. Blackhawks shorthanded by 2 men. For another 50 seconds. Hartsburg straight away in front, stop, and Cicerelli can't get a good shot away. Ben Wilson all over his back.
And that box has become a triangle.
It certainly has. Ben Wilson, Troy Murray, and Bob Murray killing the penalty in front of Murray Bannerman. Half a minute to go in the two-man advantage for Minnesota. They trail the Blackhawks 2-0. In front, the deflection. Bukestad couldn't get it in the first time, but he does on the second effort. And Scott Bukestad now has 16 goals in his last 14 games, and it is 2-1 Chicago.
Simply a numbers game in front, Ken. The old way to kill a penalty when you were 2 men short used to be have 1 man high watching the 2-point man and 2 defenders back by the net. Today, 2 defenders work up high and 1 back by the net. There's Ben Wilson by himself. You can see 2 North Stars. Troy Murray's moving back in to help, but can't get to Bukestad in time. And it's simply a manpower situation with the North Stars outnumbering the Blackhawks and able to capitalize on that rebound. You can bet your bottom dollar that at even strength, Bukestad wouldn't have had a second shot at that rebound.
Bukestad picks up his 23rd goal of the year. He leads the North Stars in goal scoring. The Blackhawks are still 1 man short for another 35 seconds. Bannerman makes the save on Hartsburg's pass shot. And here's Rick Patterson. He's trailed by Gardner. Blackhawks just want to kill time, rag the puck. And they're doing a good job of it. 1 minute to go in the period. 21 seconds left in Keith Brown's penalty. Now the North Stars, Steve Payne. They trail the Blackhawks 2-1. Here's Hartsburg. Payne. Finally, Graham gets the puck. Brown comes out of the penalty box. Blackhawks back at full strength. North Stars dangerous. Payne can't get the pass. Here's Gordy Roberts looking to pass in front, and it's deflected through the goal mouth. Bellows centers. Payne is robbed on the deflection as Bannerman makes a superb sliding save. Let's go to Jim Kelly.
All right, Kenny, in a loud and noisy Chicago stadium, coming up in our first intermission, a man who's been a Blackhawk for 21 years, Lou Varga, the Chicago equipment manager. Also, we'll check in with Tom Mees. He'll have the Chrysler Dodge NHL Player of the Week and the Week in Review. We'll look at SportsCenter, highlights from the Bears win against the Giants and the Patriots upset against the Raiders. And, of course, a check with Tom Mees, the Bud Light NHL Hockey Scoreboard and Highlight Show, all coming up in our first intermission.
Wow, what a first intermission that's going to be. We'll have everything, and we've had an exciting first period.
We'll have to take in the first intermission somehow.
That might be better than the game, but I doubt it because this has been a good one. Blackhawks 2, Minnesota 1. Bukestad scores from Nielsen and Hartsburg at 18:34.
And it could be tied right now if Murray Bannerman wasn't ready to play, but I think Bob Pulford made the right decision in sitting Bob Sauvé tonight and starting Murray Bannerman. He's been just terrific in there on a couple of saves just in the last couple of minutes.
Terrific describes this man, Savard. 12 seconds to go in the period. And that's a bit of a dive, and Savard is one of the best in the league at that. And the fans here expect a penalty. 2-on-1. Flett from McKegney. Back to McKegney. And Bannerman comes up with another brilliant save as the siren sounds to bring an exciting end to the first 20 minutes of play here at Chicago Stadium. Oh, what a period. It started out rather conservatively, but as I expected, Bill Clement, things really opened up, and even Bob Pulford watched as his team started to freewheel a little bit more.
Well, it really did open up, and as you said, the surprise was that it didn't start out that way. Both of these teams, Roger Nielsen mentioned to me, they haven't been playing well defensively, but they've really cleaned things up.
That's the score. Hawks 2, North Stars 1. You heard it from Jim Kelly. He'll be right back. A special feature on what happens in the equipment room before the game.
Once again, I'm here to tell you all you get by ordering Sports Illustrated now.
And once again, I'm here to make sure you get it right. Get it right, Jack.
I will, Mr. Alcedo. By ordering Sports Illustrated now, you not only get unbeatable weekly coverage of all your sports, you get the big 1986 baseball preview.
You're doing fine. So far.
The preview is packed with lots of great inside stuff you won't find anywhere else. But you can get it all by calling toll-free 1-8...
Not yet. Don't Give them the number.
But they need the number if they're going to...
Not until you tell them everything they get.
You get basketball, football, tennis, golf, and... Oh, and the famous swimsuit issue. As always, a beautiful preview of what's new under the sun. And it's all yours. And by ordering now, you get over 40% off the cover price.
Give them 50.
50?
Well, over 50.
Over 50. Okay, you'll get over 50% off the cover price. So you'll get 30 issues at the low basic rate, payable in 3 monthly installments of only $10.89. So every week, you get the timely, colorful coverage that only Sports Illustrated gives you. What more could you want? Just call this toll-free number.
Give them this, too.
Free?
Free.
You also get free this handy 1986 Major League Baseball schedule.
And this.
Free?
Free.
The SI Super Bowl 20 commemorative pin is free, too.
And don't forget these great binoculars.
You also get these sporty, high-quality binoculars.
Free.
Free, with your paid subscription. They're perfect for getting closer to the game or anything else you want to get close to. And they're free. From Sports Illustrated, you not only get a lot of sports, you get...
Jack, you forgot something?
But I told them about the great savings, the baseball preview, the swimsuit issue, the free baseball schedule, the free Super Bowl pin, the free binoculars, and...
The free carrying case.
Oh, like I was saying, with Sports Illustrated, you not only get a lot of sports, you get a lot more.
But to get it, you better call now. Right, Jack?
Right, Lyle. Mr. Alzado.
Call now. 1-800-525-2500.
There are 21 doors around the National Hockey League exactly like this one, but only the players have access to the locker room. But right now, let's go inside the Blackhawks private retreat and meet the Chicago equipment manager, Lou Varga. 21 years in the Blackhawk organization, which means when Lou Varga started out, there were just the 6 original teams in the National Hockey League. Lou, I would imagine the most difficult part about being an equipment manager is moving 20 sets of gear from point A to point B. Like last night, you were on Long Island and had to get all this gear in here to Chicago.
That's right. We came back around 1 o'clock in the morning, and we had to get it back here to the rink to get ready for today's game.
How'd you first become an equipment manager? A phone call to the then Blackhawk general manager, Tommy Ivan. You were an ex-player, and what happened?
Well, 2 days later, he called me and told me he had a trainer's job.
Let's go back to the 6 original teams in the National Hockey League. Has players' attitude changed inside the locker room at all?
Very much so, for the simple fact that we're dealing with younger players, 18, 19-year-olds, and we have to do a lot of teaching from right from wrong.
How about the equipment? I would imagine that that's changed a great deal, too, starting perhaps with the blade.
Yeah, we used to have an all-steel blade. Now we've gone to a plastic type of blade now, which we have a lot of problems with and breakage and losing its edges because they're stainless steel.
How about shin pads?
Shin pads have gotten a lot better. They're a lot lighter now.
Pants?
Pants have a lot more protection now than we did have 10 years ago.
And, of course, the helmet may be the biggest change, and you're a big advocate of the helmet.
Very much so. I wish everyone would wear a helmet. And it's becoming to the fact that the league, they have to wear a helmet.
Let's get back to the blades for just a second. How do you change and sharpen 20 different sets of skates to the different personalities of the skaters?
Well, you kind of memorize everybody's theory on what they want as an edge or a deep hollow or a mild hollow or a medium. This is about the hardest part that you have to remember.
What's the favorite part you have about being an equipment manager?
Winning.
That's easy enough. What's the downside?
Losing.
How come?
Because you feel like you've contributed to the loss because you did something wrong and someone's skate sharpening and he had a bad game or something like that.
Speaking of contributing, you've contributed a soon-to-be 12-year-old, John Varga, your son, who's a very fortunate young man. He gets to skate for free here at Chicago Stadium, and he's got some pretty good tutors in the locker room.
That's right. He goes up on the ice quite a few times with the players. Thanks to the Blackhawk management, they let him go on there. And then when the players are ready to practice, he comes off.
And who's his godfather?
Gonzo Hominick. He owns a sporting goods store here.
Old number 18.
Right. He was the equipment manager here and trainer in the years of Glenn Hall.
And I think John's idol also wears number 18.
That's right. That's Dennis Savard.
What advice has Dennis passed along?
Well, Dennis has passed along how to pass the puck, how to shoot the puck, and how much to contribute to the game. Hard work.
And what advice has the senior Varga passed along to young John?
Shoot the puck more.
And your garage, I guess, is ample proof of that.
That's right. I got dents all over the garage door.
And I know you've also told John to maybe skate with the finesse of a Stan Mikita. What else?
Yeah, and the shot of a Bobby Hall, and the hockey sense of a Wayne Gretzky, and the speed of a Dennis Savard.
Lou, proud papas always know batting averages. How about John's stats?
John's stats are 21 games, 57 goals, 25 assists.
A dream of yours and John's to maybe share the same locker room?
Very much so, very much so.
All right, thank you for sharing your time inside the Chicago Blackhawks locker room. We've got a big battle going on between Chicago and Minnesota. We'll rejoin Tom Mees right after these messages.
Legendary is Z Channel, the Xanadu of pay television. Movies of every kind, new and old, brilliant and bizarre, from home and abroad. And at the heart of Z's success, Z Magazine, the most comprehensive guide in the industry. Complete notes on casts and credits, running times and release dates, informative reviews. Never one to simply hype movies, Z gives criticism, thoughtful, candid, humorous, able to connect the films you do expect with the ones you don't.
Is that really your idea of how to run a newspaper?
I don't know how to run a newspaper, Mr. Fetch. I just try everything I can think of.
It shows exactly what you can do if you're a total psychotic.
Z Magazine, the uncommon guide for the uncommon viewer.
Listen. How would you like to save some money and get something I'm absolutely sure you can use and enjoy right now, right where you are? It's TV Guide, America's favorite television magazine, and here's the story.
Right now, call 800-445-4500 for 30 weeks of TV Guide in 3 easy monthly installments of just $5.75 each. 800-445-4500.
Call now. You'll be glad you did.
Good evening once again, everyone. I'm Tom Mees, back in our ESPN hockey studios. Hope you're enjoying a thrill-packed hockey game from Chicago Stadium. After one, Blackhawks lead at 2-1 over Minnesota. Well, this past week in the NHL was a busy one. The Soviets continued their tour of the league, and a new coach took over the hockey fortunes in the Motor City. Let's take a look back now in our NHL Week in Review. This week in the NHL, Brad Park was named the new head coach at Detroit, but the Red Wings' old problems remain, like too many goals. Mario Lemieux's backhander beat him here in Pittsburgh. The Red Wings 0-2-1 in the first week under Brad Park. Lemieux had a heck of a week, had 4 goals in a game that Pittsburgh won at St. Louis. Meanwhile, the Soviet Red Army team continued its domination of the NHL. A big New Year's Eve win over the Montreal Canadiens last Tuesday night at the famed Montreal Forum. The big star, Sergei Makarov, here connecting on the first of 3 goals on the night, beating Doug Siltart. You know, the Red Army team is really impressive. They're 5-1 so far in their NHL tour. Their only loss to the Quebec Nordiques. They also beat Minnesota and the St. Louis Blues this week. Here's goal number 2 for Makarov on a backhander after the Canadiens made a mistake in their own zone. Then watch the Soviet power play passing here. Makarov free just to the left of the goaltender, and he'll notch the hat trick and get a standing ovation from the fans of Montreal. Back in the NHL, New Year's Eve on ESPN, a rematch of the Flyers and Oilers, last year's Stanley Cup finalists. Big mistake by Flyer goalie Bob Froese with a 2-0 lead. Wayne Gretzky converts the mistake to make it 2-1. Then Dave Hunter, as the Oilers have a power play and they're really skating and passing well. Hunter unchecked, he scores to tie the game at 2. Wayne Gretzky would end up with a hat trick in this game. You want to see one of the prettiest backhanded goals you'll ever see? Watch it. Loose puck, Gretzky shoots, scores. Bob Froese never knew it was coming. Gretzky celebrates. The Oilers beat Philly 4-3. On Long Island, a celebration for Islander captain Dennis Potvin. Gets a new truck and a lot of other prizes because he broke Bobby Orr's all-time record for points in a career by a defenseman. But once the game began against the Boston Bruins, it was Mike Bossy's night. Watch number 22. He'll skate in, gets a nice pass from Brian Trottier and beats Pat Riggin for career goal number 499. Then, late in the game, the net is empty. Riggin is on the bench. And it's Tonelli to Bossy, shoots, scores, 500 goals faster than any man in NHL history. Last night, though, on Long Island, Dwayne Sutter is nailed to the ice legally by the Blackhawks' Dave Bergevin. And what about Bob Sauvé in the nets for the Chicago team? He gets some help from that friendly old goalpost. Ken Yaremchuk took care of his end, scoring a couple of goals. When it was all over, Chicago had their first win on Long Island in 12 years. Now it's time to name our Chrysler Dodge Player of the Week in the National Hockey League. Goes to a young goaltender for the Quebec Nordiques. His name, Clint Malarchuk. Look at these stats. 3 wins in 3 games, the goals against are well below 2 per game, saving almost 95% of the rubber shot his way. 2 of those 3 wins in the always rugged Adams division against the Hartford Whalers. These are scenes from the Hartford Civic Center. Malarchuk coming up big time after time after time. With saves like these, it's no wonder that Clint Malarchuk of Quebec is the Chrysler Dodge Player of the Week.
wasting time with a beat-up old tank when you could be putting money back in the bank. Drive a brand new car, not an old gas hog. We can make it easy as falling off a log. You can own a Dodge, get rid of that wreck. Come in to Moss Motors, save a bushel and a peck. Looking for a dependable used car? At Moss Motors, we back every used car with our new 30-day, 3,000-mile warranty. That's right, choose from our huge inventory of fine used cars with confidence. They all now carry. And we have service that won't make you nervous. No Dodge dealer anywhere is growing so fast. We're the Riverside Auto Center's dealer with class.
I'm Glenn Moss.
I'm Jay Moss.
I'm Abe Moss. Let us make your family a Dodge family, too.
Oh, no.
Yep. Grandpa and the girls are at it again.
We're in the middle of our first intermission from Chicago Stadium. The Blackhawks lead Minnesota 2-1. Back with more hockey in just a moment. In the National Football League today, a legitimate upset on the behalf of the New England Patriots, who went into Los Angeles and ended the Los Angeles Raiders season. The Pats will advance to the AFC title game next week at Miami. How do they do it? Let's go to highlights now. Early on, it was the Raiders in charge. This 11-yard TD run by Marcus Allen gave them a 17-7 lead. Allen had 121 yards rushing on the day, but it wasn't enough. The Patriots rallied in the second half. Following a field goal to tie it at 20, Sammy Seal of the L.A. Raiders is hit by Mosi Tatupu after he grabs the ball. Tatupu hits him. The ball comes loose in the end zone. Jim Bowman recovers for New England. Jim Bowman is the newest hero in New England. And the Pats take a 27-20 lead. 6 turnovers killing the Raiders. Mark Wilson is intercepted here on the tip drill. It falls into the hands of Fred Marion, and that effectively killed the Los Angeles Raiders' fortunes today. Turnovers, an excellent play by the Pats. The Patriots win at 27-20. They will be in the AFC title game next weekend at Miami to take on the Dolphins. Meanwhile, in Chicago today, well, Chicago is really a hot town. Blackhawks are leading, and the Bears eliminated the Giants today. 21-0. The pass combination of Jim McMahon to Dennis McKinnon clicked on a couple of touchdowns, and the Bears' defense was simply scintillating. And they'll take on the L.A. Rams in the NFC title game next weekend. And I'll be by with another edition of the Bud Light Hockey News in just one moment.
American Express presents Do You Know Me? A look at the lives and careers of famous athletes. This week's American Express sports personality was a star in collegiate and pro basketball. At LaSalle, he was a member of the NCAA University Division champs in 1954 and later won an NBA championship ring. We'll tell you who he is after this word from American Express.
Do you know me? I'm one of the best-known cowboys in Texas. But a lot of people don't recognize me in a cowboy hat. So I just carry the American Express card. It can help you out in plenty of tough situations because you never know when you're going to be surrounded by redskins. Howdy.
To apply for the card, look for this display and take one.
The American Express card. Don't leave home without it.
Do you know this week's American Express sports personality? He's one of only 2 major college players to score over 2,000 points and grab over 2,000 rebounds in a career. With the NBA, he helped propel the Philadelphia Warriors to the title in his rookie year. After 5 All-Star team selections, he left the league to pursue a coaching career, returning to LaSalle. He's Tom Gola, this week's American Express sports personality.
If you just ask for a light beer,
I'll have a light.
You never know what you'll get.
That's me packing the car. Best vacation ever. Here's Rock City, Texas, L.A., all in 3 days.
Bud Light.
Here I am in Death Valley. That's me looking for water.
So if you want the less filling light beer with the first name and taste,
wait, there's more.
Ask for Bud Light, because everything else
Give me a light.
is just a light.
That's me packing the car. Best vacation.
Hello once again, everyone. I'm Tom Mees. Welcome to another edition of the Bud Light Hockey News. Our first intermission, Blackhawks leading the North Stars 2-1. In the news, left winger Charlie Simmer of the Boston Bruins. I guess he's just a victim of bad luck. Just 4 games after returning to the Bruin lineup following a knee injury which knocked him out for 19 games, Simmer was last night accidentally struck in the right eye by the stick of Buffalo Sabres center Gates Orlando in the second period of Boston's 4-0 win over the Sabres. Simmer lay on the ice for some 10 minutes before being taken to a hospital and taken off the ice on a stretcher. Tonight, I'm happy to say Charlie Simmer is in the Massachusetts Eye and Ear Infirmary in improving condition. His vision is improving up to 20/30. He'll remain in the hospital for a few more days, but it shouldn't be too long before Charlie Simmer is back with the Bruins. Last night in Pittsburgh, the Penguins skated to a 3-all tie with the touring Moscow Dynamo Soviet hockey team. Mario Lemieux, Mr. Penguin, had 1 goal and 2 assists in the game. A sellout crowd of 16,000, though, left the Civic Arena booing. Why did they boo? Well, the Penguins tied it up with about 2.5 minutes left to go. There was an announcement made there would be an overtime, a la the NHL, 5-minute overtime period. The Soviets said, we know nothing about that. They refused to play it, so they shook hands, exchanged gifts. The players left, and the fans booed, and it was a 3-3 tie. Let's go right to the scoreboard now. 5 other games tonight in the NHL. L.A. leads Buffalo 3-2. That game is in the 3rd period right now. Meanwhile, in Toronto, we got a heck of a game going on between the Red Wings and the Maple Leafs. As we go to highlights, Brad Park, the new head coach of the Red Wings, still looking for his first coaching victory. The team got off to a quick lead as second-year man Steve Yzerman will connect off a pass from Peter Klima. Klima behind the net, nice centering pass, and Yzerman cruising down the slot, makes no mistake, 1-0 Detroit. Toronto, however, used the power play to get even. Greg Steffen stops Tom Fergus, but Steve Thomas scores on the rebound to make it 1-1. Detroit used a power play of its own to take a 2-1 lead. Ron Duguay is stopped in front by Don Edwards, but John Ogrodnik plucks the puck out of midair. And yes, the stick was below the shoulder level. It counted 2-1 Red Wings. Detroit opens a 3-1 lead as Joey Coker, just up from the minors, connected off a 2-on-1 with Yzerman. It's 3-1 Detroit. They led 3-2 after 1 period. In the 2nd period, Toronto tied the game at 3, but Detroit regained the advantage. Yzerman connecting on a pass to Coker. And we have now learned that Toronto has tied that game up at 5 with goals by Fergus and Peter Inachak in the 3rd period, so it's 5-5 in the 3rd. Quebec is skating all over the New York Rangers, 5-0 at the end of 2 periods. Winnipeg leads the Vancouver Canucks by a score of 4-0 now, 4-0 Winnipeg. And Edmonton has a big lead over the Calgary Flames, 5-1. The Flames, if they lose this game, and it looks like they will go down to their 10th straight NHL defeat. Let's go back to Chicago Stadium. Ken Wilson and Bill Clement.
All right, thank you very much, Tom. The 2 teams back on the ice, ready to go. Hawks with the 2-1 lead. I thought, Bill, that as that first period developed, it got more exciting and turned out to be a very good period of play.
Well, it really opened up. The shots ended up Hawks 15 and Minnesota 13, and I think it's safe to say that Minnesota is right where they want to be at this stage of the game. As fast as Chicago usually starts in here, if you can get away from the first period being down only 1 goal, you're doing pretty well in this building. So Minnesota is right where they want to be. Murray Bannerman made some awesome saves, as did Don Beaupre. The score, with 28 shots in that first period, we could be looking at a much higher score right now.
Ready to go, and we're underway as Doug Wilson charges, flings the puck in, and Beaupre stops it behind the goal. This is Giles up to Bukestad, who's been the hot scorer for Minnesota. Giles shoots the puck in, and Bannerman will stop it. O'Callahan on defense with Doug Wilson for Chicago. Larmer on the wing. Here's Broughton in front for Minnesota. He's got Bukestad right there. Broughton still with the puck. Cicerelli can't handle it, and here's Savard on a line with Secord and Larmer. It's 3-on-3, and the pass just out of the reach of Steve Larmer. He centers, no one there. Here's Bob Murray, a shot wide, and Cicerelli feeds it to Broughton. The 2 big lines against each other here to start the 2nd period. Broughton shot, and the save by Bannerman. Now the North Stars changing as Savard has it again. Steve Larmer. His weak shot stopped by Beaupre. And a minute and 2 seconds into the 2nd period, there'll be a face-off near the Minnesota goal.
Still surprised, Ken, that Chicago is countering against the Broughton line with Denny Savard's line. Here's Broughton getting off a one-handed shot. Bannerman just falls down. I'm sure Bannerman is bright enough to know that when Neil Broughton's coming in with one hand on a stick, he's not going to be capable of lifting it strength-wise into the top of the net, as few players are. Probably Gordie Howe is the only guy that can hoist it into the top of the net with one hand. But even Lorne Henning, we spoke to him before the game, expected Troy Murray's line to be out against Neil Broughton's line.
And that was the indication we got from Bob Fulford and his staff that Troy Murray would go against Broughton. It hasn't been the case. Hartsburg, who's been injured a lot the last couple of years, lets a shot go, intending to have it deflect in front and rebound out in front. And the North Stars will have it at center ice. Hartsburg on defense with Ed Hospodar, and here's Presley intercepting for Chicago and just handing it to Kent Nielsen. Here's Hospodar, Hartsburg, Maruk the center on the line for Minnesota, Payne on one wing and Nielsen on the other, and it'll be an icing call against the North Stars.
North Stars seem a little reluctant to get it over center and dump it in. They seem as if they want to carry it in, and that can backfire on you. I think they might be wiser to start dumping it in, getting those Blackhawk defensemen to back up, because the defenseman likes nothing better than to have everything stopped in the neutral zone and then try and have the offensive line come down and try and beat them. That is what I thought would happen in the early going. It seems as if they're straying from what they wanted to do early.
There it is. The Stars have won 5 in a row. Lauren Henning without defenseman Bob Rouse. He has an injury, a wrist injury. Tom McCarthy out with a shoulder injury. And the North Stars' Brian Lawton is not suited up tonight. We mentioned the Blackhawks short with injuries. Tom Lysiak, Darryl Sutter, Kurt Fraser, Steve Ludzik all on the shelf. And then Tom McMurtry unable to dress tonight. He hurt his hand last night against the New York Islanders on Long Island. So the Blackhawks really are hobbled by injuries. Blackhawks with a lead. First period goals from Troy Murray and Dennis Savard. Scott Bukestad scored the goal for Minnesota. North Stars clear the zone. Here's Jack O'Callahan out of Massachusetts to Olchak. Ooh, and the shot off Brown, I believe, into the corner as Beaupre was really screened. Now Pryor clears the zone, and the Blackhawks will play it in their own end. O'Callahan back for it. This is Keith Brown. He'll just shoot it in. Beaupre forced to play it. And it's Chris Pryor, the young defenseman. He can't complete the pass. And Brown shovels it back in as the Blackhawks make a wholesale player change.
And it looks as if Brian Bellows has moved to center on that line, replacing Keith Acton, who was ejected in the first period for that spearing incident.
Bellows dumps Larmer. Pryor's pass comes to Tony McKegney. McKegney, a man we can watch tonight. He's a pretty good scorer, and he hasn't scored a goal in 11 games. Here's the pass to the former Sabre and Nordique, and he just hands it to the Blackhawks. Steve Larmer has it. He's on with Savard and Secord. Larmer gets it behind the net. Savard to Secord. Setting up the pass for Bob Murray, broken up by Marouk. A beautiful lead pass to the youngster Tim Coulis. And Bannerman, a sparkling play, sets up Steve Larmer. Over to Secord. And the save by Beaupre as that one caught him right in the chest. And the North Stars able to clear the puck out. This is Savard, Blackhawks leading scorer, maybe the most colorful player in the NHL.
One of the couple of, at least one of the top 3 colorful players in the National Hockey League today.
Bill Watson intercepts in front, trying to get a loose puck. He's upended. And finally, the North Stars come out. Here's Marouk with Plett and Coulis. Willie Plett just steers the puck to the corner to Marouk. Coulis all alone in front, but Marouk too well covered by Doug Wilson. And a hand pass, and the whistle stops play. Early in the second period, Chicago 2, Minnesota 1.
Spinning out at Indy at 200 miles an hour just isn't a whole lot of fun. Believe me, I wore a seatbelt that day. And I wore a seatbelt when I had a really dangerous job, driving a New York City cab. And I wear a seatbelt even when I'm just cruising around town. It doesn't take a genius to figure it out. Seatbelts keep you where you belong, in the car. It's your life, so smarten up, buckle up.
Smart advice from the United States Department of Transportation.
Ken Wilson, Bill Clement. We're in Chicago. Blackhawks lead the North Stars 2-1, and neither team really able to get much of a flow here early in the period.
Well, a lot of the play is taking place in the neutral zone, Ken, because the defensemen are standing up, which is a term that is not the opposite of sitting down. It's the opposite of backing in on your goaltender. And when you stand up and your wingers are coming back, you're able to stop a lot of the rushes. And as a result, the play is in the neutral zone, and you don't get that good end-to-end action.
Here's Dino Ciccarelli for Minnesota, on with Neil Brott and Scott Bukestad, their big power line. And the Blackhawks have countered with their checking line, led by center Troy Murray, who steals the puck right here. One thing about Troy Murray, he's anything but an exclusive defensive player. That pass offside from inside the Hawk blue line out over the checkered red line. Troy Murray has developed into a very good scorer as well as defensive player.
Well, very few players have strong defensive strengths and strong offensive strengths. When you put the two together, you have a guy that's really indispensable, and that's what they have in Troy Murray. He is also their best faceoff man. And talking to co-coach Roger Nielsen the other day, I said, if you had a clutch situation and had to put one of your centermen in there, who would it be? It wasn't Tom Lysiak, it wasn't Denny Savard, it was Troy Murray. And tell me that Troy Murray wasn't a catch. He was drafted 51st in 1980. That was the year the Hawks drafted 5 players that are on their current roster. It was a big year in the draft for them. Larmer was 128th chosen overall.
Save on Pryor's shot by Bannerman. Bob Murray to Mark Bergevin, and it's Bill Watson. Here's Ken Yaremchuk. He had 2 goals last night against the New York Islanders. Stopped on the play by Bukestad, then a shot by Presley, and an acrobatic save by Beaupre as quickly the North Stars come the other way. Payne a shot, and Bannerman the stick save. Here is Nielsen centering, and it's rejected by Yaremchuk. This young man has all sorts of speed in his 3rd NHL season. Watson, a rookie, back to Yaremchuk, and the pass goes wide as Presley was turned around. Blackhawks lead it 2-1. Yaremchuk in the corner, helped out by Bergevin. The puck comes loose and out to center ice.
The Blackhawks really haven't been able to sustain any forechecking pressure. I think that's an indication that Minnesota is really tight positionally in their own end. In spite of the fact the Blackhawks are leading 2-1, Minnesota's been pretty tight in their end, and the Hawks really haven't been able to sustain that action in there.
Bellows steals to Dirk Graham, and the save by Bannerman as Dirk Graham, the longtime minor leaguer who has exploded on the scene here in the NHL, had a fine chance to score.
He sure did. He was able to walk in from the side, tried to move in front with it. Here's a look at it from overhead. The puck is behind there, comes out to Graham. Now watch, he tries to move in front. Bannerman had his stick extended smartly to follow him. And notice Murray Bannerman's style. He's horizontal quite a bit of the time when he realizes that a player doesn't have many options. He's a smart goalie in the sense that when those options disappear, he knows that when he's horizontal, he covers more net than when he's standing up.
And that's a little reminiscent of the all-time great goalie who played here for so many years, Tony Esposito. Tony, well, he'd be flat most of the time, and one of the all-time greats in the NHL.
And he seemed to cover a lot of the net somehow. He even at one time had a piece of cloth sewn between his legs because he used the butterfly style. He would go down and spread his legs almost on his knees with his feet extended to the side, which is called butterflying. And at one point, he sewed a piece of material actually in the crotch of his pants so that they couldn't score on him between his legs, which was the most vulnerable place when he was in that position on the ice. I think it was his brother Phil that blew the whistle on him, though, since they were opponents, and he had to stop. But he was always challenging the rules with the size of his equipment. Large stick, large blocking hand, huge catching mitt, and it seemed as if he covered almost the whole net. It was like the refrigerator in there.
Blazevin knocked down by Brown. Chance for the Blackhawks. Troy Murray trying to set up Olczyk and had a little too much zip on that centering pass. 13:45 remaining in the second period. Hawks lead 2-1. Olczyk has trouble with a pass. He's checked by Giles, and it's shot in by Troy Murray. Brian Bellows up to Tony McKegney, and Savard intercepts. And Dirk Graham steals the puck from Denny Savard and hands it right back to him. And Bellows yanks Savard down. The crowd doesn't enjoy it, and it's offside North Stars. Here at Chicago Stadium, a full house, and the Hawks lead the North Stars 2-1.
Come back to Jamaica.
We will raft you into the sunset.
What's old is what's new.
We'll intoxicate you with hibiscus.
We want you to join us.
We'll drench you with sunshine.
We made it for you.
Come back to the way things used to be. Make it Jamaica again. And make it your own.
Make it Jamaica your new island home.
Face-off coming up in the neutral zone. Savard centering a line against the North Stars Broughton line, so the big power scoring lines on against each other here.
And when that happens, Ken, it's just a matter of which team can play in the other team's end. If Broughton can get his line playing in the Chicago end, he will negate Denny Savard.
Craig Hartsburg shooting the puck in, and Cicerelli will be there to dig it out. He centers, and Bukestad unable to reach the pass. Steve Larmer Has the puck stolen by Cicerelli, and Doug Wilson smothers him. Now the Blackhawks turn. Savard trailed by Steve Larmer. There it is.
Dipsy doodle.
And Savard throws the check on Broughton, then Secord slips by Broughton, and the Hawks control. Well, one thing when Savard's on the ice, things happen.
Oh, they always do. He's so exciting to watch. He does things that only people in the ice capades are capable of doing.
Some of you guys used to do it in practice, but never in the game, right?
Well, and in the games it was unintentional when you'd get sideswiped or hit.
O'Callahan shoots it in. Secord after it. He takes out Ed Hospodar, and it's Cicerelli trying to clear, and he can't. Dangerous situation, and Hartsburg clears. This is Cicerelli to Hartsburg as the North Stars break out. Both teams looking to change lines. Broughton to Cicerelli to Bukestad. And the shot wide. He really didn't get a good hold of the puck. Scott Bukestad unable to center. Then Cicerelli taken out by Bergevin. Hartsburg trying to keep the puck in. Does for Minnesota. They trail 2-1. Both teams at full strength. Bukestad a shot. Hits a body in front of Bannerman. Here's Yaremchuk, who has all that speed. Pulling away from Broughton. It's 3-on-2. The shot. The save. The rebound. And Watson shoots it wide. Oh, what a flash there by Ken Yaremchuk.
He wanted to do it all himself. Once he crossed the blue line, he had a 3-on-2 situation. And once he had those Minnesota defensemen backing in, he knew he'd be in position to get a good shot away.
And that did. Shot from Yaremchuk is high. Then Plett bumps into Dupont, and the North Stars break out. And unable to control is Tim Koulis, and it's offside. Minnesota score. Hawks 2, North Stars 1.
You're gonna love the way we bring you closer every day. You're gonna love our airline. Midway, our spirit will lift you. Midway, our spirit will lift you. Midway, our spirit will lift you.
Tonight at Maple Leaf Gardens in Toronto, the Detroit Red Wings have given Brad Park his first win as a head coach. Peter Klima steals the puck at the blue line, shoots and scores in the breakaway. The Red Wings 6, Toronto 5, a final.
Congratulations to our former colleague Brad Park and the Red Wings with that victory in Toronto.
He's got a long uphill struggle in Detroit, too.
2-1 here. Blackhawks lead it. 11-12 to go, second period. And Kerry Fraser blows the whistle to stop play. We mentioned coming in, the North Stars had won 5 in a row. They have not won 6 in a row in almost 6 years. So they're really into the high heights now in that winning streak, trying to pick it up and get right up there and compete with the Blackhawks and the Blues for first place in the Norris Division.
And I'd have to say at this stage that they are playing a little tighter game than Chicago, in spite of the fact, well, they're being outshot 19-18. They're hardly being outclassed in the shot department. But Lorne Henning was a defensive player when he played the game, and he's really trying to get Minnesota playing that style.
Plett centers, it deflects behind the goal. And Roger Nielsen, co-coach of the Blackhawks, very much a defensive specialist also.
As was Bob Pulford.
Sure. Neither one of these teams always played a lot of good defense this season until recently when they have been so successful. Bill Gardner hasn't seen much ice time. Loses the puck to Marouk. Looking for Koulis. He's there. Can't get the shot away. Too well covered as Ben Wilson did a superb job coming back. Now Ben Wilson has the puck smothered. Gary Fraser wants him to continue. And Ben Wilson lets it get away and finally clears on the boards. Patterson unable to get by Gordy Roberts. Marouk steers it behind the net, and Bannerman says, let's get it out. And finally, Olczyk does.
You know, we mentioned coaches Pulford and Nielsen being defensive players. Roger Nielsen told me day before yesterday that he's not sure he has enough players committed to playing defense. That doesn't mean that they don't want to. He just has more scorers than he has defensive players. But he also said, given the choice, he would rather have a team loaded with scorers than with checkers.
This Minnesota team the last few years has had trouble with defense, and some coaches have tried to make them a defensive team, and they haven't responded. Secord nearly scores as Giles and Beaupre had a little trouble with a rebound. Now Nielsen the other way. Look at him go. All of a sudden, the lane opens up. His shot right in front, and Bannerman picks it out of the skates to smother it, and a whistle stops play. 2-1 Hawks lead. Let's go back to Jim.
All right, Kenny, on this night in the National Hockey League, January the 5th, 1986. Let's go back 3 years when the great Gretzky, number 99, on an assist right here, scored his 100th point of the season against Winnipeg. He did it in only 42 games, the second fastest that anyone scored 100 points. The record is 38 games held by Wayne Gretzky back in 1981. Kenny?
He's amazing, isn't he?
He's pretty to watch. He's truly amazing. And he does it with very little strength. He's one of the weakest players on that team. That's what makes him different than some of the other greats. Bobby Hull, Gordie Howe, Bobby Orr, they all dominated with great physical strength. Wayne has all of the intangibles. He sees things that people can't even come close to seeing.
I guess the safest thing to say still early in Gretzky's career is no one in the history of sport seemingly has ever dominated a sport as much as Gretzky has hockey.
If anybody, I think experts theorize that it might have been Babe Ruth, but Wayne Gretzky, in my mind, is the single most dominant athlete in the history of sports, of organized sports, professional sports, definitely.
Well, we've seen Gretzky already this season here on our ESPN coverage, and I'm sure we shall see him again.
I don't think the Oilers are going for an early vacation this year. I think they're destined for playoff berths and long stretches of playoffs for a number of years. They're so young still, which makes them an awesome team. Guys like Messier and Anderson, Kevin Lowe, Paul Coffey, these are guys, are young superstars that are only going to get better with age.
Neither team has scored here in the second period. Here's Langevin, a shot. Ooh, just wide. He had Bannerman beat, but missed the mark. Doug Wilson with a puck ahead to Secord. He just clears it out, and it's Langevin. Over to Giles. Langevin, of course, the former New York Islander. Here's Nielsen. A blind pass, losing the puck. And Steve Larmer feeds to his open right wing.
And Coach Henning doing a little juggling. He's got Broughton out there now with Payne and Kent Nilsson, which is a different combination.
Intercepting Savard. He spots Secord. And a shot wide. Now Savard will try to dig it out. He does. Here's Steve Larmer. The backhand shot stopped by Beaupre. Steve Larmer was all alone and rushed his shot a bit and didn't get anything on it. Blackhawks with a 1-goal lead. Here come the North Stars. It's offside. That pass from inside the Minnesota blue line. Blackhawks 2, North Stars 1.
Moving into the slot, shooting, he scores! Hit the goal post! Great save! Going in on a break. Score! Here's another breakaway. Score!
Shooting at a stick save. He winds a drive. A save, a shot. There go! Oh, and a check.
Shot scores! Scores!
He scores!
NHL hockey. Feel the thunder.
Here's Troy Murray. Here's Troy Murray for the Blackhawks right in front. The whistle. Some extracurricular activity in front, and a holding penalty will be called.
Exactly. One of the reasons that Troy Murray was so open coming around the net was that Keith Brown had Craig Hartsburg hog-tied in front of the net. I think he had a hold of his stick, and it looked as if Troy Murray was doing a fabulous job of dancing around the net, which he did, but he was only open because Keith Brown was springing him loose. Here's a look at it. Watch Hartsburg at the top of your screen, number 4. Now, he is trying to move out on Troy Murray, and his right arm is being tied up. Whoop, Brown lets him go, but too late. You can see Kerry Fraser at the top of your screen with his arm raised. Keith Brown didn't slide that one by Kerry Fraser, who was Johnny on the spot.
11:52, the time of the holding penalty. First penalty in this scoreless second period. Hawks 2, North Stars 1. Bob Pulper, the man of very few words.
Very intense, very intense.
Floyd Smith tells a story, and he was a teammate for many years, a former NHLer with Fulford in Toronto. They lockered next to each other at Maple Leaf Gardens. And as Floyd Smith tells it, he still hasn't talked to me. He's not only his teammate, but had the locker next to him. He's never spoken to him yet.
He should have played for him as a player with him coaching. He would have had to talk to him, at least to tell him he was up next to go on the ice.
Pulley isn't that quiet. Here's Bukestad, a shot. And DuPont gets in the way of that, and Bannerman plays it to the far wing. Bukestad intercepts. Here's Neil Broughton. Back to Bukestad, and Bill Gardner gets a stick in the way. Blackhawks short-handed. And they clear the puck out. Foley's a very nice guy, but he's one of those fellas that is so quiet and intense that he's almost scary.
He's difficult to read if you don't know him well and can throw the odd person off, definitely.
And people love to tell stories about how long he's gone without talking. There's some truth to it, but a lot of story. Hartsburg in front, trying to put it on the blade of Bukestad, and he couldn't connect on the deflection. North Stars with the man advantage.
The Blackhawks really doing a good job of forcing the North Stars, not even giving them a chance to set up in their end. They're rushing the play. It leaves them vulnerable to a degree, but if they're really on top of the North Stars, even though they're a man down, they can kill it off.
40 seconds left in the power play. Hartsburg back to Payne, and he was well covered by Bob Murray. This is Nielsen back to Dino Ciccarelli. Payne is in front. Bellows in the left corner, takes the pass. Ciccarelli again out to the point. Nielsen, a stick save by Bannerman. Hartsburg keeping it in along the boards. In front, and Bannerman just clears that as Bellows put it right in the crease. Now 2-on-2. Blackhawks shorthanded the screen, and Steve Larmer's shot wide. Very nice play by Troy Murray to screen that play.
Troy Murray is an all-purpose player. He will do whatever he has to do to create an opportunity for a team, and is unselfish, which I think is the key to being such a successful defensive and offensive player. He is an unselfish player.
Keith Brown with that shot right out of the penalty box. Both teams at full strength. The North Stars trailing 2-1. Payne winds up, and Bannerman makes the save. Now the Blackhawks start out 4 across. Gardner with Secord, and Rick Patterson, whose shot is blocked neatly by Dave Langevin. Now Patterson ridden to the boards by Langevin, and Kurt Giles has it in his own end. 5:35 left, period 2. It's 2-1 Chicago. Bill Gardner with Rick Patterson. And Gardner has his stick lifted by Graham as Giles with an outlet to Maruk. Over here to Tim Koulis. Back to Maruk, and he'll just steer it towards the goal as the North Stars complete a line change. And Koulis, the burly forward, does a good job in the corner. He looks to center. And the shot right on, a chance for Maruk, and he can't get a stick on it as Pryor sent that right on goal from the right point. Less than 5 minutes remaining in period 2 here at Chicago Stadium. Here's Gordy Roberts. Back to Chris Pryor. Up to Maruk. He's got Koulis with him. Here's the pass to Koulis. Back to Maruk. He's well covered, and there'll be a penalty against Chicago. Beaupre goes to the bench. It's a delayed penalty. And finally, the Blackhawks touch the puck, and the Hawks again will be a man short. It's Chicago 2, Minnesota 1.
A good workout keeps me in shape, but it also makes me pretty sore.
You know what I use to take care of those sore, aching muscles and joints? Myoflex analgesic cream. It's fast, it's effective. And with Myoflex, there's no burning, no grease, no odor, so I don't smell like a locker room. Oh, and another thing. For the 6th year in a row, Myoflex has been recommended by more pharmacists than any other pain relief rub. Myoflex. I should know.
Blackhawks, 4:37 left in the period. Doug Wilson, a holding penalty.
Some great pressure by a makeshift line that Lorne Henning threw out there of Tim Koulis on the left side, Dennis Maruk at center, and Willie Plett on the right side, and they actually drew that penalty with some aggressive play in the Blackhawks zone. Henning having to juggle a little bit because of Keith Acton's ejection in the first period for spearing Jerome Dupont of the Blackhawks. Acton is somewhere, I'm sure, in this building, mixed in with the 17 or 18,000 people watching this action.
Broughton up front, centering Bukestad and Ciccarelli at one point. Nielsen, he has the puck. Hartsburg's at the other point. Here's Kent Nielsen, the shifty playmaker. His shot, Bannerman the save, and they score. Ciccarelli was right out in front. I'm not sure if it went in off Ciccarelli or it was initially Nielsen's shot, but it's tied at 2.
It sure was Nielsen's shot, but you could see Dino Ciccarelli pointing at Kent Nielsen right after the goal. Here's a look at it from overhead. Nielsen sees Ciccarelli right in the middle of your screen now, and trust me when I tell you that Kent Nielsen was not shooting the puck on goal. He was shooting the puck on Dino Ciccarelli's stick. Kent Nielsen had his head up when he shot the puck and is one of the few guys capable of lifting his head up and slapping the puck without looking down at it. Dino Cicerelli acknowledged him right after the goal. A nice tribute to Ken Nilsson. He pointed right at him and said, that was your goal, in the sense that it was a gimme almost. All he had to do was get a stick on the ice and deflect it towards Murray Bannerman. That's a flash of brilliance by Kent Nilsson, something that you see now and again, but really hasn't shown that brilliant play in the last couple of years like he did in 1980 when the 1980-81 season, when he finished third in scoring behind Wayne Gretzky, of course, and Marcel Dion. But on any given night, Ken Nilsson can defeat you single-handedly. One of the great Swedes to come over to North America and play in this game.
That is the second power play goal for the North Stars, tying it at 2. Still 4:25 remaining in the second period. Giles to Bukestad, breaking around O'Callahan. Scott Bukestad shot, and Bannerman makes the save on the youngster from the University of Minnesota. It's the NHL tonight, but on ESPN, always a lot of college basketball.
Kenny, coming up, it's one of the best one-on-one matchups so far this season. Tuesday night, January the 7th, 8 o'clock Eastern time. The St. John's Redmen visit Boston College in our live Big East matchup. And then right from the site, I'll host the Dial Dick Vitale Show. A chance for you across America to call in and talk basketball with the coach. So that's all coming up on Tuesday night right here on ESPN.
All right, Jim Kelly, Dial Dick Vitale. What a show that'll be. Ken Wilson, Bill Clement. We're at Chicago Stadium. 2-2 is the score late in period 2. Jack O'Callahan, a pass for Savard out of his reach. Bukestad banking the puck to center ice.
Well, we mentioned that Minnesota was sitting right where they wanted to when this period started. They're not only in the game with the score tied 2-2, they're taking it to the Blackhawks.
Doug Wilson back for the puck. He was in the penalty box when Cicerelli scored from Nielsen and Broughton at 15:34 to tie it. Now Broughton out of the corner.
Watch how he protects the puck with his body. Oh, a shifty little move by Denny Savard, almost pulling Broughton's skates out from under him.
Wasn't that something to see? That was a tremendous move to steal. Steve Larmer around Giles.
The trick was getting away with it.
Boy, Secord well covered in front. That was one of, I still can't believe that move that he made to steal it.
I don't know if I've ever seen that done, but knowing Denny Savard, oh, great save. Knowing Denny Savard, he's capable of just about anything. A surprise at night is the rule with Denny Savard and Wayne Gretzky, players of that nature.
Here's Brian Bellows for Minnesota. In his 4th season, he's still only 21 years of age, and the play is offside Minnesota. 2:59 to go, period 2. It's all tied at 2.
If you own a house, you gotta own a shop vac. This baby's got the power to pick up almost anything.
Got broken glass, nails, or wood chips? Shop vac gobbles up stuff that would kill an ordinary vacuum. And a shop vac wet dry can even vacuum water like a flooded basement. The washing machine is flooding the house.
No.
Every house needs a shop vac. Starting at under $50, a shop vac is heavy duty, not heavy money. And remember, if it doesn't say shop vac, keep shopping.
Two hot teams battling. North Stars have won 5 in a row. The Blackhawks 4 in succession. Coming off a win last night on the road against the New York Islanders. Their first win on the island in 12 years. They've gone 26 games playing the Islanders on Long Island without a victory, and they got one last night. Now the North Stars setting up. Nice sweep check by Troy Murray as Bellows goes heavily into the boards. And the centering pass fails to reach Tony McKegney. Blackhawks 2-on-1 break. Roberts back. Troy Murray with Brown. Here's McKegney back. He helps out, really saves the play for Minnesota. And a penalty coming up as Tony McKegney got back and took out Keith Brown. But he put too much of an exclamation point on the play, and he'll go off for holding.
I think you're exactly right. It was the punctuation mark at the end of the hold that actually led to the penalty. And, you know, that's one of the first 2-on-1s we've seen tonight that tells you, in spite of the fact that the shots are 25-23 in favor of the Hawks, the game has been pretty tight. Here's Troy Murray making the move. McKegney has come back to try and handle Keith Brown. Well, his left hand is right around Brown's chest and kind of wrestles into the ground behind the net. If he had released them as soon as they were out of danger, he probably would not have been called. And as you mentioned, he just held it a little too long, Ken.
17:29, the time of the 2-minute holding penalty to Tony McKegney. Blackhawks with their first power play opportunity of the second period. This is Ben Wilson. Keith Brown now at the near point. And that shot deflects high and sails into the crowd. Let's go now to Jim Kelly.
All right, Kenny, thank you very much. And coming up in our second intermission, we'll have a good look at the great hockey heritage and tradition from the great state of Minnesota. That's coming up. Also, Tom Mees will have the latest on the NHL Chrysler Dodge All-Star balloting. Of course, you'll see the All-Star game live right here on ESPN. A check-in at SportsCenter. The Giants embarrassed by the Bears here in Chicago this afternoon. And a look at the Patriots' big upset against the Raiders in Los Angeles. And back with Tom Mees again for the Bud Light NHL scores and highlights.
Blackhawk power play, just over 2 minutes remaining in the second period. Ben Wilson shot deflects wide. Here's Troy Murray. Olczyk up front with Watson. Ben Wilson a shot. Ooh, and Beaupre pulls it right out of the reach of Ed Olczyk, who was right there looking for a deflection and or a rebound.
He sure was, and nobody was tying him up. He actually had a chance to get full wood on it if he was able to. He took a cut at it with his stick and just missed it. And as a result, it was like cherry picking for Don Beaupre. A shot like that from the point that doesn't get deflected as easy, but one little tip of the shaft or the blade of a hockey stick can change the direction of a puck drastically. And Langevin, for some reason, was standing on the far side of the net. Olczyk, it looks as if he was going to be in front of the net on this power play. We'll try and watch for him jamming in front a little bit now and again.
Keith Brown to Ben Wilson. Special teams have played a big part of this hockey game. None of the scoring has come with both teams at full strength. This is the Hawks power play. The score is 2-2. A minute 20 left in the power play. Olczyk shoots, and throwing out his leg to make the save is Don Beaupre.
Definitely back-to-back brilliant plays. The first by Ed Olczyk when he danced out in front. I cannot believe that he is only 19 years old. Now let's go down to Jim Kelly.
All right, Ken, around the National Hockey League, a couple of finals in. 3-2, the Kings on top over the Buffalo Sabres. And Brad Park gets his first win in Detroit. The Red Wings hung on against Toronto 6-5.
Minute 17 left in the Chicago power play. Brown ahead to Watson. Here's Olczyk, back to Watson, now to Brown at the point, over to Ben Wilson. Troy Murray's in front. Olczyk knocks the shot down, can't get his stick on the puck. Now Olczyk. Blackhawks with one power play goal, one shorthanded goal tonight. Trying to break the tie here with a man advantage. Both Minnesota goals have come on the power play, and that shot hits Bill Watson right in front, and the Chicago player will hobble over to the bench.
It's a dangerous place to be on a power play when you've got shooters shooting from the point. You're always at their mercy when they take a shot, especially if they get it up in the air.
Half a minute to go in the power play. Now less than a minute to go in period 2. Blackhawks setting it up. Steve Larmer on with Savard and Secord, Ben Wilson, and Bob Murray. Steve Larmer in the corner. In front, Secord hits the post as he was set up by Larmer and Savard.
Things happen on a power play when you can penetrate that box with a pass diagonally through the middle of the slot, and that's what happened on that play. Some nifty passing back and forth by the Blackhawks. And what happens when you pass the puck through the box is that you end up passing the puck to somebody who is standing in a position that all of the defending players have their backs to, and everybody has to turn around and figure out what's happening behind them. And that usually gives the receiving player, the one that receives the puck, a chance to do something creative with it. It gives them that split second to do something creative with it. And believe me, the guys that play the power plays are the ones that are capable of doing something in that split second.
Very big face-off here near the North Stars goal. 9 seconds in the Minnesota power, the penalty remaining. Blackhawk power play, and only 40 seconds remaining in the second period. It's Savard getting the draw back to Doug Wilson. He's unable to get that booming shot away. 4 seconds left in the power play for the Hawks. Now McKegney back on. Here's Secord moving in front, and Giles just threw his body out horizontally to close off that play. Savard. Look at this move. Look at him go around. Graham shovels it in front. Giles clears, and finally Langevin pulls the puck in with his left glove and smothers it. And Kerry Fraser right there eyeballing the play.
And he doesn't seem to have called a penalty, but Don Beaupre looked a little upset at the situation. Well, here he comes skating towards the penalty box now. We probably will have a penalty. But Denny Savard completely turning one of the North Stars inside out. The whole world looks like a knuckleball when you end up twisting around like that. When a player gets you turned and is able to deke you the way Denny Savard is, it's almost embarrassing to have someone do that to you. Well, this is just after the move. He centers it out looking for Al Secord. He'd already twisted Dirk Graham inside out. Secord got good wood on. Here's Langevin.
Can't do that.
Well, I've seen...
Beaupre tries to help out and say, hey, I'll smother it, but it's too late, and a 2-minute penalty to Langevin for delay of game at 19:47 of the second period.
I've seen referees let those go.
The Blackhawks had 15 shots on Beaupre in the first period. They have had 16 here in the second period. The North Stars 13 shots in period 1. They have had 10 in the middle period.
Safe to say Don Beaupre has earned his paycheck for the evening already.
Now the Blackhawks man advantage, 13 seconds to go. Big face-off again. Marouk against Savard, who is waved out.
He's been thrown out of a lot of face-offs tonight. He's really trying to anticipate that drop and get an advantage, but as a result, he hasn't even been in there to take them when they've needed him.
Marouk tying things up. Bob Murray keeps the puck in and chases after it with Giles. 2 seconds. And that is the end of the second period. Not as wide open as some of the moments we saw in the first period, but a good period for the visitors as they get the only goal of period 2.
Well, they closed the gap. They came into the period down 1. Now they're tied. They were outshot. Chicago seemed to take it to them late in the game, but the advantage going into the third period definitely lies with Chicago now, having 1 minute and 47 seconds left on that power play, and with the score tied, not an enviable position to be in.
The only goal at 15:34, Cicerelli's 14th of the year. After 40 minutes of play, Hawks 2, North Stars 2. And we'll be right back with Jim Kelly and his guest, Lou Nanne of the Minnesota North Stars.
Give me a light. Whoa. Bud Light.
If you just ask for a light beer...
Hey, can I have a light?
Whoa! You never know what you'll get.
Give me a light.
Bud Light.
So if you want the less filling light beer with the first name and taste, don't just ask for a light beer.
Give me a light.
Ask them to bring out their best.
Bud Light.
Bud Light. Because everything else is just a light.
Once again, I'd like to tell you all you get by ordering Sports Illustrated now.
This time, do it right and do it fast.
Yes, sir, Mr. Alzado. Sports Illustrated not only gives you unbeatable weekly coverage of all your sports, you also get the big 1986 baseball preview. It's packed with lots of great inside stuff you won't find anywhere else.
Hurry up.
Sports Illustrated always gives you something special, like the famous swimsuit issue, a beautiful preview of what's new under the sun. And if you call now, you get over 50% off the cover price. So you'll get 30 issues at the low basic rate, payable in 3 monthly installments of only $10.89. And this handy 1986 Major League Baseball schedule is free.
Give them the super pin, too.
Free?
Yeah, hurry, free.
You also get free this SI Super Bowl 20 commemorative pin.
And you get these great binoculars free.
Really?
With your paid subscription.
Gosh, they're perfect for getting closer to the games. And they're free.
And so's this carrying case.
But to get it all, you better call now.
You better hurry. Call now. 1-800-321-9900.
You are so beautiful to me.
Mercury has shaped a great road car that also happens to be a wagon. Introducing Sable.
You are so beautiful.
Mercury, the shape you want to be in.
Yeah, it was a lifelong dream of mine. Minnesota is a very fine team, and they got good organizations, high school and up in college, and it definitely grows a lot of good players. The state tournament draws 18,000 each game, and it's a terrific place to start your hockey career.
A terrific place, rich in heritage and tradition for hockey, and part of that tradition and heritage is Lou Nanne, the general manager of the Minnesota North Stars, alongside. I'm sure many of you recall Mr. Zero, the great goaltender of the Boston Bruins, Frank Brimsack, and your assistant, John Mariucci, who is very active, former U.S. Olympic coach, former coach at the University of Minnesota, and also very active now in amateur hockey. Why is Minnesota so steeped in tradition, Lou, with great hockey coaches and players?
Well, I think, Jim, because people like Mariucci, who was really in the forefront, giving them the opportunity to play, the climatic conditions in that area, the number of indoor rinks that sprouted up, plus the University of Minnesota, where they were able to have an outlet if they developed, and from there go into other colleges or Olympic programs. It gave the boy a chance to play. And having a chance, Americans have always proven that they can play, and now it's just spread throughout the country, and that's been one of the prime reasons we're seeing so many Americans in the league now.
And it's so successful because there are so many in the National Hockey League right now.
Well, there certainly are. With each passing season, we get more, and we see a lot of youngsters. If you look at this year's draft, potentially there's 6 or 7 going to go in the first round again.
Let's take a look at some of those from the Minnesota connection right now, starting with the Sabres' Mike Ramsey. You could almost field an all-star team of Minnesota.
Well, he's one of the most underrated defensemen in the league, a potential all-star every year. Phil Housley, one of the better offensive defensemen with Buffalo and in the National League. Mark Pavlich, a star in the Olympic team and the most consistent performer in the New York Rangers. Scott Kleinendorf's coming to Hartford from the Rangers, a solid defensive defenseman out of Grand Rapids, Minnesota.
Louis, those are some of the younger ones, but certainly by no stretch of the imagination is that all. Let's take a look here.
Well, there's quite a few players, as we see throughout the league. John Casey's a rookie with us this year. Sheehy and Johnson, 2 young defensemen coming into the league. Curvers last year, a real good performer for Montreal. Donnie Jackson, a very solid performer in Edmonton. Langevin we acquired from the Islanders this year. And Buttsy Erickson just going to L.A. in a trade. Joel Otto has been a free agent, real find for Calgary. Neil Broughton and Aaron Broughton, 2 well-known performers in the National League. Reed Larson, the highest-scoring American in professional hockey. Pavlich, we've already talked about. Mark Johnson, who is so good in the Olympic team, doing very well for New Jersey. Dave Christian, an outstanding center in Washington. And Scott Bukestad this season becoming a real find for us.
And, of course, if you listen very closely, a lot of those names are very familiar because of the Boys of Winter, the victory, the gold medal-winning U.S. Olympic ice hockey team. Ice hockey in the state of Minnesota is kind of like basketball in the state of Indiana. You get to that high school tournament, and you can't steal a ticket.
That's right. It's been really an outstanding attraction year after year. We've got a waiting list of about 10,000 getting in to see that thing, but it's something that everybody looks forward to, a 3-day tournament, the 8 top teams out of the state, and every year it gets more exciting.
How important is the experience that a young man will gain playing high school hockey in Minnesota?
Well, I think it's really a good preparation for them if they want to continue their hockey career. And as we look around the country now, we get more colleges every year looking for players. Americans are becoming a bigger part of that at all times, and more people are coming out of Minnesota on hockey scholarships probably than all other sports combined. So it's really important if a kid wants to combine an education and athletics.
Lou Nanne, the general manager of the Minnesota North Stars, thank you for taking time out on ESPN and sharing some thoughts on Minnesota ice hockey, both professional and amateur.
Thanks, Jim. My pleasure.
A big battle going on between Lou's North Stars and the Blackhawks here in Chicago, and we'll rejoin Tom Mees after these messages. Tom, of course, will have a look at the NHL Chrysler Dodge player balloting for the NHL All-Star Game, which you'll see here on ESPN. That and much more after these messages.
When I'm ready to rock and roll, I rock with Tom Bell Chevrolet Auto and Truck Discount Center in Redlands, and I roll with Tom Bell's awesome selection of new Chevrolets. And why not? Tom Bell Chevrolet has the lowest prices anywhere in the Inland Empire. They make financing just too easy, and they always give the biggest trade-in values for your present car. But there's even more. Tom Bell Chevrolet is the area's factory-authorized discount outlet. That means no other dealer buys for less, sells for less, finances for less, or gives bigger trade-in values and selection with price protection. Tom Bell's guarantee that you get the lowest price when you buy a new Chevrolet. So what are you waiting for? What's that? A driver's license? Well, why let a little thing like that stand in your way from owning a new Chevrolet from Tom Bell? It never stopped me.
Do you want to know everything about the NHL? You can with the NHL's own official guide and record book. It has statistics, photos, draft choices, and player information about every NHLer from 1900 to 1986. If you like your hockey, the NHL guide is for you. The guide and record book is available at any NHL game, wherever books are sold, by mail, or by calling 1-800-CHAPLAIN. To reserve your copy, send $14.95 plus $1.50 postage and handling to NHL Guide, P.O. Box 99E, Trenton, New Jersey.
Welcome back to the ESPN Hockey Studios, everyone. Hope you're enjoying what's a good game tonight from Chicago Stadium. North Stars and Blackhawks tied up at 2. I'm Tom Mees, and now let's review the All-Star balloting. Don't look now, but the NHL All-Star game is just over 4 weeks away, and the Chrysler Dodge fan balloting is rapidly nearing an end. Let's update the latest figures now from you fans across the National Hockey League. The event, of course, the National Hockey League's 38th Annual All-Star Classic. The site, the Hartford Civic Center in Hartford, Connecticut, and the date is Tuesday night, February 4th, and you'll see it live right here on ESPN. First of all, the All-Star balloting race in the Prince of Wales Conference. At left wing, Brian Propp, the leader, over Michel Goulet of the Quebec Nordiques. The center voting. Well, it's really no contest. The brilliant second-year man of the Pittsburgh Penguins, Mario Lemieux, running away from the rest of the pack. At right wing, it's another Philadelphia Flyer topping the balloting. A relatively close race between Tim Kerr of the Flyers and Mike Bossy of the New York Islanders. On defense, the top vote-getter in that category for the Boston Bruins, perennial All-Star Ray Bourque. Rod Langway of the Washington Capitals is second. Mark Howe of the Philadelphia Flyers is third. And in goal for the Prince of Wales Conference, again, the honor being extended in absentia to Pelle Lindbergh. The Philadelphia Flyers, of course, lost his life in that tragic auto crash in November. Right now, if the voting remains the same, Tom Barrasso of Buffalo will get the starting nod. Mario Gosselin of Quebec is second. Now moving over to the Clarence Campbell Conference balloting. This division or conference is dominated by the Stanley Cup champion Oilers. Glenn Anderson leads the balloting at left wing over John Ogrodnik of Detroit. At center, well, it's Wayne Gretzky and everyone else. Gretzky is a shoo-in. Dale Hawerchuk, for the record of Winnipeg, is now in second spot. Dennis Savard of Chicago is third. At right wing, well, it's Jari Kurri, Gretzky's line mate with the Edmonton Oilers, way ahead of Ron Duguay of Detroit, and Rick Vaive of Toronto coming up a bit in the standings. On defense, the top vote-getter, another Edmonton Oiler, Paul Coffey, and he's way ahead of Doug Wilson of the Chicago Blackhawks and Randy Carlyle of the Winnipeg Jets. And in goal right now for the Clarence Campbell Conference, the leading vote-getter, Grant Fuhr of Edmonton, but if he doesn't feel like playing, his teammate, Andy Moog, who played so well New Year's Eve on ESPN, right now is running second. Our score from Chicago Stadium, Minnesota North Stars 2, the Chicago Blackhawks 2. I'll be right back with an ESPN Sports Center update in just a moment.
First came the pocket watch, then the pocket radio, then even a pocket camera. But who would have ever thought of a pocket TV? Casio, of course. Yes, it's the Pocket TV by Casio. Another outstanding value from Urban General. This TV is smaller, lighter, sharper, and brighter. Until now, watching TV outdoors meant battling the sun. But now the more sun, the better. The unique liquid crystal solar projection screen actually soaks up the sun for a brighter, sharper picture. Excellent reception through this combination earphone antenna. Channels lock in automatically with Pocket TV's auto tuning. Operates on 2 AA batteries. A crisp, clear black and white picture from a name you know and trust. Complete for only $99.95. Order now and never miss another program. Here's how to order. Casio.
Use your credit card for rush delivery by calling 1-800-441-1234 or send check or money order for $99.95 plus $5 shipping and handling to Casio Pocket TV. P.O. Box 3500, Department A, West Caldwell, New Jersey, 07006.
In the NFL, the list of teams still going after that elusive title in Super Bowl 20 is now shrunk to 4. One of the teams eliminated today at Soldier Field in Chicago was the New York Giants. They fell victim to the Chicago Bears in the passing combination of Jim McMahon to Dennis McKinnon. This combo clicked twice. The Bears shut out the Giants 21-0. A windy day in Chicago, and wide receiver McKinnon said because of the wind, you had to chase down every pass.
When the ball was in the air, you had to go to it. You know, we didn't catch it. We made sure nobody else caught the ball today. And that's something we emphasize all week, because when you give a team opportunities to make turnovers, then you keep them out in the game. And we didn't beat ourselves. And we executed when we had to.
We played the same way we had played the Niners. We got a few bad breaks. The wind blew a ball out of a punter's hand, and a field goal attempt hit a crossbar that could have given us some momentum. So there were some bad breaks, but we expected to win. We came here to win, and that's why it is such a bad feeling. They're a fine team, you know, and I give them credit, but I think we should have won today.
That, of course, was Giant defensive end Casey Merrill, and from the losers' locker room, he says that the Giants feel they should have won. Well, they lost to the best team in football, the Chicago Bears. They will meet the LA Rams now. The Bears will in the NFC title game next week. What about the AFC? Well, a bit of an upset in Los Angeles. The Patriots upset the Raiders 27-20. They'll be in Miami for the AFC championship game as well next weekend. And I'll be right back with a look at NHL scores and highlights in just a moment.
Got what it takes. Full tilt, all out, holy flakes. Nothing halfway, nothing sweet. Just a great big crunch of good whole wheat. Yeah, hey, banana, move aside. These big flakes got nothing to hide. Wheaties, Wheaties, good whole wheat. Now go tell your mama what the big boys eat.
If you just ask for a light beer,
Give me a light.
You never know what you'll get.
Dogs. No, actually, Bud Light.
So if you want the less filling light beer with the first name and taste, ask for Bud Light.
Yours? No.
Because everything else
Give me a light. Showtime.
is just a light.
Once again, I'd like to tell you all you get by ordering Sports Illustrated now.
This time, do it right and do it fast.
Yes, sir, Mr. Alzado. Sports Illustrated not only gives you unbeatable weekly coverage of all your sports, you also get the big 1986 baseball preview. It's packed with lots of great inside stuff you won't find anywhere else.
Hurry up.
Sports Illustrated always gives you something special, like the famous swimsuit issue, a beautiful preview of what's new under the sun. And if you call now, you get over 50% off the cover price. So you'll get 30 issues at the low basic rate, payable in 3 monthly installments of only $10.89. And this handy 1986 Major League Baseball schedule is free.
Give them the super pin, too.
Free?
Yeah, hurry, free.
You also get free this SI Super Bowl 20 commemorative pin.
And you get these great binoculars free.
Really?
With your paid subscription.
Gosh, they're perfect for getting closer to the games. And they're free.
And so is this carrying case.
But to get it all, you better call now.
You better hurry. Call now. 1-800-321-9900.
5 other games ongoing tonight in the National Hockey League. Let's get right to the scoreboard with the LA Kings, who won their second game in a row on the road in the Eastern Swing. They beat Buffalo 3-2. Meanwhile, in Toronto, Detroit wins its first game for their new coach, Brad Park. Let's go to highlights of that game. 5-3, Detroit will pick it up third period. Toronto pulling within one. Brad Smith passes to Tom Fergus, who beats Greg Steffen. It's 5-4. Detroit on top. Just minutes later, the Leafs pull even as Peter Inicek goes to the upper corner. We're tied at 5. Could the Red Wings be about to blow another one? No. Peter Klima gets the puck at the blue line, skates in uncontested, shoots and scores. Detroit wins 6-5, and Brad Park shaking some hands. Congratulations. A week ago, he's working for ESPN. Now he's a winning coach of the NHL. Quebec had a 5-0 lead on the Rangers tonight and had to hang on for a victory at Madison Square Garden. Let's take a look at highlights early on. Quebec with the puck at Madison Square Garden. It is Ashton to Wilf Paymont, over to Normand Rochefort, who beats John Van Beesbrook from the slot to the glove side, 1-0 Quebec. Then the Nordiques add to the lead. Michel Goulet, the left winger on the right side with a rocket here. His 30th goal of the year, 2-0 Quebec after 1. Early second period, Nordiques, John Anderson just walks in, and he dekes and scores between the pads of the goaltender Van Beesbrook, 3-0. Quebec opened a 5-0 lead in the second period, and then Clint Malarchuk, well, he was strong the first 2 periods. The Rangers came back with 4 late goals, but it wasn't enough. Quebec wins it 5-4. Winnipeg shuts out Vancouver 4-0. The 26th career shutout for Winnipeg netminder Daniel Bouchard. The Edmonton Oilers, the only other game still underway besides our game in Chicago. Edmonton leads Calgary by a score of 6-3. It looks like the Calgary Flames are ready to go down to their 10th straight loss in the National Hockey League. Their only win during that period was against the Soviet Moscow Dynamo team. Let's take a look at the scoring summary now through 2 periods of play at Chicago Stadium. First period, Chicago, Troy Murray and Dennis Savard quickly made it 2-0. Scott Bukestad got Minnesota back in at 2-1 at the end of 1. In the second period, well, only 1 goal was scored, and that was by Dino Ciccarelli of the Minnesota North Stars. And these 2 Norris Division teams are tied up at 2 apiece, and it should be one great third period of play from Chicago Stadium, where we always seem to have great third periods. Let's go back now to Ken Wilson and Bill Clement. Gentlemen.
Okay, Tom. certainly things are different for Chicago and Minnesota than they are for the Calgary Flames. These two teams are hot. The North Stars have won 5 in a row. The Blackhawks have won 4 in a row. The Blackhawks tied for the Norris Division lead with St. Louis idle tonight. The Blues will play in Montreal tomorrow night, and Minnesota just 3 games off the pace.
And you know, Ken, checking the schedule, a lot of people might think that a fatigue factor might come into play in this period because the Chicago Blackhawks played last night in Long Island, and the schedule doesn't show, the National Hockey League schedule doesn't show Minnesota playing, but they played the Russian team last night and lost to them in overtime. So I guess it's even Steven in the fatigue level right about now. It's kind of an interesting game from what I hear in Minnesota. There's a Russian referee involved.
Langevin in the penalty box to start the third period. I guess Minnesota was penalized 7 times. The Russian team was penalized once last night. And you don't even like to lose when it's an exhibition, but I understand it was a good game. We'll see how the two teams do in terms of endurance. Giles back for Minnesota. Blackhawks power play. 2-2 the score. Steve Larmer. He has Bob Murray at one point. Larmer again. Doug Wilson with that big shot is at the other point. Secord with Giles in the corner. Giles just bounces off Secord.
And took an awful shot from him in the back of the head after he hit him.
Bob Murray. And the save, the shot by Savard wide. A minute to go in the Blackhawks power play. Secord's open, and Savard's pass is errant. Bukestad tied up by Steve Larmer. Roberts holding on to Secord's stick. North Stars still can't clear the zone, and Beaupre makes the save as Steve Larmer in front, tied up by Giles, tried to change the direction of the puck.
Well, Beaupre looked as if he was anticipating the puck to be deflected, looked a little shaky, but was able to have it bounce into him and just make the save. You can see at the top of your screen one of the Chicago players backhand the puck. And Beaupre didn't have much time to get a look at it, but was able to beat Al Secord to the punch. And when Al Secord bears in on you, you want to beat him with the punch. He's pretty aggressive around the net. He's one of the few Blackhawk players that I guess you could say has a mean streak in him, along with Ben Wilson. Is one of the guys that keeps things stable when they look like they're getting out of hand physically. He would be considered one of the enforcers on the Blackhawks team. Interestingly enough, also plays, as does Willie Plett, the Minnesota enforcer, without a helmet. A vanishing breed.
Right. Those two fellows got together on a shift early in the game and haven't been on together much since. Blackhawk power play, another 40 seconds. Ben Wilson shot off the stick of Bellows and into the crowd. Jim Kelly was asking earlier about the fact that you, Bill Clement, had something to do with the fact that Willie Plett does not currently wear a helmet.
I played with Willie Ken in Calgary, and Willie decided to wear a helmet one season, and having watched him play with the helmet, I mentioned to him one day that I thought he might lengthen his career if he didn't wear the helmet because of his fan appeal. He's blonde hair and he's out there, and it's so much easier for the fans to identify with a player that does not wear a helmet. Sure enough, he took off the helmet and he's lengthened out his career. You can see him sitting there, and that blonde hair is attractive to people in Minnesota. Believe me, the people on the road, though, in this Chicago stadium don't like Willie Plett too much.
Power play, Blackhawks. Brown's pass for Troy Murray, intercepted by Kent Nielsen. Minute and a half has been played. Period 3, 2-2 the score. 18 seconds to go, and the Dave Langevin penalty as Keith Brown charges up the middle of the rink. Beaupre will let the puck turn around the boards. Here's Olczyk moving right in. Back to Brown. He'll let it rip. Beaupre makes the save. Now Watson for Chicago. Ready to come back on as Langevin. He returns to the ice. He and Ben Wilson will race after the puck. Bannerman playing it ahead as the two teams change players. Olczyk deflects the puck in. Blackhawks 2, North Stars 2. Hartsburg leads the rush for Minnesota. The feed for Broughton is a stray and finally caught up with, and Bannerman the save on the weak shot by Neil Broughton. Looking up the middle for Savard, onside from Doug Wilson. And with the puck now, Ed Hospodar as Steve Larmer's dumped. No penalty call. Cicerelli and the blocker and the pad of Bannerman making the save. Now the other way, the Blackhawks. O'Callaghan to Savard. Nice job accepting the pass. Looking for help. Denny Savard The feed for Doug Wilson, broken up, other way, 4-on-1. And O'Callahan stops the play, and the North Stars are offside. That was a 4-on-1. Here at Chicago Stadium, it's 2-2.
Chrysler LeBaron GTS challenges BMW 528e and Mercedes 190e to a test of performance. Overall, America's GTS dominates the legendary Germans and is under $12,000. LeBaron GTS. We built an American hero.
Now, Chrysler offers you 8.6 financing or up to $1,000 cash back.
Standing room only at venerable Chicago Stadium. 2-2. Great game. Blackhawks, North Stars.
A lot of heritage in this building, Ken. A lot of great hockey played here. Bobby Hull, Stan Mikita, some of the greats played right here.
Bannerman steers the puck into the corner. Flett there. Both teams are at full strength. This is Mark Bergevin. Yaremchuk, who likes to wind up, just pokes the puck ahead. It's offside as Wayne Presley takes the pass. We're 3 seconds shy of the 3-minute mark in the third period. Well, don't forget, ESPN has exclusive coverage of America's Cup 87. And starting tomorrow, look for weekly America's Cup updates featuring news of all the U.S. and foreign challengers, plus progress reports on the Australian defenders. And I think, Bill, it's going to be fabulous because coming up in February on ESPN, 2 one-hour America's Cup shows. One's going to feature the New York Yacht Club America 2. Stay with ESPN. America's Cup 87 is right here. Here's Yaremchuk. The shot hits Langevin. Using his glove, Yaremchuk taken out of the play. It's Kurt Giles, head manning to Payne. Payne with Marouk and Flett. 3-on-3. Bannerman short hops it and holds on, and play is stopped.
You mentioned the America's Cup, Ken. When you consider that, I guess a lot of people think that sailing in a race could hardly be considered being an athlete, the people that are on board. However, when you think that these people compete sometimes in weather that's 15, 20 below zero, I would have to put them in the category of some of the toughest athletes around. It's hard work and very exciting for anybody that gets into it. I think that even the novice, once they stick their nose into what sailing's all about and start watching the America's Cup, get hooked.
Well, we're going to have it on ESPN. This is the place to be. 2-2 the score. Here come the North Stars. Graham is offside, taking that pass. There is Graham, the 26-year-old, we mentioned earlier, a longtime minor leaguer. Finally gets to the big show. He played at Dallas, Fort Wayne, Toledo, Salt Lake City, and Springfield. And he spent quite a while in the International League when that wasn't exactly the place you wanted to be if you wanted a sure shot at the NHL.
Usually the International League, the old International League, was one way the wrong way. When you ended up there, you very seldom made it out of there, even to the Central League or the American League. You have to feel good about a guy that can hack it and continue to improve to the point where he can make it to the NHL, because very few of them do.
Troy Murray gets the puck to Ed Olczyk. Back to Troy Murray. And the save, Brown can't beat Beaupre on the rebound. Don Beaupre, 2 big saves. The other way, Gordy Roberts, the North Stars defenseman, looking for Graham. He can't get a good shot away, but his shot stopped by Bannerman. As Graham's taken out, Ed Olczyk leads the charge for Chicago. Now the Hawks changing lines. Over to Steve Larmer. He can put it in. He scores! Steve Larmer, what a shot! Boy, did he feather that one.
A brilliant pass from Ed Olczyk, and an equally brilliant play by Steve Larmer to move the puck to his backhand, go to the short side, and completely befuddle Don Beaupre. Here's Larmer. Watch him go to his backhand. And from that angle, from the angle we looked at it, the net looked very wide open. From Steve Larmer's angle, he probably had 6 to 8 inches, if that, to slip that puck in there on the backhand and also get it up high by Beaupre's pads and up around his shoulder. Brilliant goal. And tell me he wasn't a find. He was the 128th person drafted in the 1980 draft, the draft that the Hawks ended up with 5 players from in 1980. As a matter of fact, the Hawks have 21 players on their roster that were drafted showing that their scouting system is doing something right. That's a lot of players to come out of the Universal Draft and end up on your hockey team.
Blackhawks with the lead, 3-2. Third period coming out of their own end. Larmer's 14th goal of the year. He had 46 last year. O'Callahan, the pad save by Beaupre. Some of those 50-footers can be tough. Dino Cicerelli hands the puck right to Secord. Back to O'Callahan. And Langevin stands in the way. Savard steals the puck, lining up at center ice. Denny Savard, one move, two moves, three moves. He scores!
Well, if you thought Steve Larmer's goal was brilliant, watch this goal. Denny Savard tipped those through everyone, pulls the puck to his backhand. Virtually impossible for most players even to execute. Here it is from another angle. He moves in front to the backhand the way Larmer did and kicks that far corner, completely handcuffed Don Beaupre. After such a brilliant game, to be beaten twice on goals like that, there was virtually nothing on either goal that Don Beaupre could have done to stop them. Just outstanding offensive plays.
Savard's second goal of the night. All of a sudden, Beaupre sees two backhanders go by him. 4-2 Chicago. Savard now with 25 goals on the year. 14:40 to go. One move, two moves, three moves, you score. It sounds so easy.
And what makes those goals so special is that it's difficult to shoot the puck on your backhand because the curve of your stick is going the wrong way. So when players actually shoot that way, you know they're doing something right. Here in Chicago, it's the Hawks 4 and Minnesota 2.
It starts early. A distant rumble. You can feel it getting closer. Magical, unstoppable. NHL hockey. Feel the thunder.
Murray Bannerman has seen the team in front of him score 2 goals in a minute. Steve Larmer at 4:13, Dennis Savard at 5:13. Blackhawks lead 4-2.
And how quickly the complexion of a game can change.
Now Minnesota will have to open up with just over 14 minutes remaining. Marouk dumps it in, Nielsen after it. Overskates it, but Marouk is there trying to center, knocked down by Bill Watson. Quickly to Yaremchuk, trying to cut in on Hartsburg. He does, and back checking is Gordy Roberts. The crowd thought possibly that Yaremchuk had been fouled. Now Nielsen. Bannerman handles that shot. North Stars changing, likewise the Blackhawks. Bill Watson shoots the puck in, and the save by Beaupre. This is a situation where the North Stars need a goal desperately. Extracurricular activity, Yaremchuk behind the play, along with Tim Koulis, and they're going to go off, still trying to get at each other. There's 13:38 to go. 4-2 Blackhawks. More NHL excitement coming up on Sunday, January 12th from New York. The Norris Division leading St. Louis Blues and the New York Rangers. ESPN dropping the puck on live NHL action to the Big Apple. Brian Sutter, Bernie Federko, Jacques Demir's outstanding Blues club, and the new-look New York Rangers, led by big burly defenseman Barry Beck. It'll be exciting next Sunday right here on your source for sports, ESPN.
Well, Ken, you mentioned Minnesota having to open up as the penalties are being announced here. They're coincidental, so it really doesn't affect what's going on. And when you talk about a team opening up, all it means is that they are going to have to gamble a little more, and usually that happens when their defense move in and move up on the play quicker, get into the offensive zone a little faster. The downside of that is that it really opens the play up for the Blackhawks.
Troy Murray sets up Olczyk, and he has his stick lifted by Giles at the last minute. Tony McKegney to Willie Flett, and DuPont As puck falls down, they finally collide behind the net. Then Troy Murray bumped. There's an example. Langevin had to pinch in. They've got to take chances. North Stars down by 2 goals. Both teams at full strength. Ben Wilson to Olchek. And the save by Beaupre, and he alertly dives on the rebound.
A big shot by Ed Olchek, 19-year-old Chicago native. He seems to have all the tools. It's going to take a couple of years to tell. I'm sure people would like to compare him to a Gretzky, but he played 1 year with the American Olympic team. Prior to that, simply played Junior B hockey. Here's a move by Troy Murray. What a gorgeous move. He takes Dave Langevin to his knees and then moves in and centers it back, hopefully for someone else. But the key there was the fake that put Langevin to his knees, and it's a precarious position for a defenseman to put himself in when he goes down the block, because once you're down, if that guy doesn't shoot it, he's gone.
Koulis, the penalty for slashing. Yaremchuk for cross-checking at 6:22. And right from the face-off, the puck sails into the crowd. Well, we mentioned coming up next Sunday on ESPN, the NHL, the Norris Division leading St. Louis Blues, and they may not be leading the Norris Division for long. If the Blackhawks can hold on and win this game tonight, they'll have 40 points, moving into first place, 2 points ahead of St. Louis, and the Blues will go into the Forum in Montreal tomorrow night, looking to get 2 points to move back into a tie. The Norris Division, very, very interesting. A well-balanced division. May not be the best division in the NHL, but as you've seen tonight, there's plenty of excitement. Secord poke check. Dirk Graham stopped by Savard, and the North Stars control. 13, well, make it 12:30 now remaining. So still a lot of time for the North Stars, who are called for icing the puck.
Ken, talking about St. Louis, they really are they really have to be a sweetheart team, kind of an underdog type team that you can't help but admire. They probably have less depth than any team in the National Hockey League, including teams like the Jersey Devils. I don't think St. Louis even has the depth that a team like the New Jersey Devils have. And yet they are right at the top of the Norris Division. It's a real tribute to their coaching staff.
They have a wonderful work ethic. Jacques Demers and Barclay Plager get more than 100% out of the personnel. Ron Caron, their general manager, the former administrator with the Montreal Canadiens, is very innovative.
And I think you'd have to agree the key from the player standpoint is the leadership of Brian Sutter, one of the 6 Sutter brothers, who is probably the consummate leader.
Here's Bill Gardner. Shot blocked by Marouk. Stealing, shooting, failing to score is Wayne Presley. Boy, when you get it like that, Bill Clement, your eyes bulge and you say, this is it. But when you don't get it, you kind of begin to wonder a little.
Exactly. Your heart starts beating fast as soon as you realize you're in all alone. Here he comes in on Don Beaupre. And since he went to the outside and didn't cut in front of the net, that kind of made it a little easier for Don Beaupre, who's really played a good game. If the score happened to remain 4-2, I think it would be safe to say that Don Beaupre deserved a better fate tonight with the way he's played. The last 2 goals that he was beaten on were exceptional goals that I don't think any goalie in the league could have stopped. Really played well.
In this period, the Blackhawks have outshot Minnesota 11-5. Steve Larmer and Dennis Savard have scored to give the Hawks a 2-goal lead.
You don't see Beaupre flailing around a lot, falling down on the ice. He's very controlled, which gives him the advantage of being in the right place at the right time. Goalies that fall down easily and tend to block shots like that when it isn't necessary are at the shooter's mercy.
The shot hits Secord, and this is Chris Pryor. Blackhawks have O'Callahan, Doug Wilson, Larmer, who has the puck, with Savard and Secord. Their big scoring line, and it's been that tonight. Now less than 12 minutes remaining. Scott Bukestad will dig the puck out. This line for the Hawks has 3 of the 4 goals. Savard 2 and Larmer the other. Now Cicerelli for Minnesota. Ahead for Broughton Tupong. Play has not been very chippy tonight, and it usually is between these teams. And if Minnesota gets frustrated, as they are right now, I think we could see a little bit more bumping. Olchek, good steal. Roberts is back. And an arm stick save by Beaupre. Bukestad and Troy Murray go down. Troy Murray has the puck smothered. Kerry Fraser says the penalty or the faceoff will come outside the Minnesota blue line. The Blackhawks lead the North Stars 4-2.
Dad, send the money by noon, or you won't be coming to my graduation in June.
Send the money today, or your father and I couldn't be washed away. Darling, I've run into a little trouble. Could you send $150 on the double?
To send someone money fast, come to Western Union. We'll make sure it gets to any of our 9,000 locations, usually in 15 minutes or less.
That's okay. I'll get the door.
Western Union, the fastest way to send money.
As action resumes, the North Stars, Hartsburg shoots it wide. Bannerman has trouble. Here's Gordy Roberts. Poke check by Troy Murray. Trying to center it, McKegney unable to. 10:50 remaining, 4-2 Chicago, and a lot of work ahead for Minnesota.
Lots of work, and you just saw Keith Brown dump the puck down the ice. That'll tell you that the Hawks are now in their prevent defense. They're not going to take any chances. 10 feet inside or outside their blue line, they'll dump it out as Jerome Dupont just did. Offside pass to Holchek, and that makes life tough on the Minnesota North Stars because the Hawks are going to do nothing more than try and avoid doing something creative with the puck and dumping it out of the zone.
Holchek took quite a tumble moments ago behind the Minnesota net, seemed to injure his back, was offside because he was so slow coming back to the play, and he's trying to shake it off.
One thing he probably won't injure is his shoulders. You can see how broad his shoulders are with those shoulder pads. He uses a kind of modified football quarterback shoulder pads that a lot of players are going to in the National Hockey League, with shoulder injuries being so prevalent, and Ed Olchek wants to spare his shoulders for a couple more years.
Bergevin. Watson. Yaremchuk with Presley. A nice idea, but Langevin standing up well positioned defensively. 4-2 Blackhawks. Third period. Watson has Presley with him. Nice speed. Second chance. He scores! Wayne Presley. That's the sign of a player maturing. Has the opportunity initially, can't score. Second time, no mistake.
He makes a very pretty move for a young guy, but he is a scorer. They know he can score. Moves in on Beaupre and simply slips it by him. And the fact that he was open, I think, is an indication that the North Stars had opened up. Most of their forwards, you can see them in the background, are standing out near the blue line. It actually looks as if he shot it between Beaupre's feet, but from that range, if you can pick a spot that isn't covered by the goaltender has no time, if any at all, to react to it. So the North Stars opened up looking for a break with their forwards waiting out at center ice, and that backfired on them, as we said it might do.
Bellows trying to force his way in. Dupont stands up, and the Blackhawks break on with Ed Olchek. 5-2 Chicago. Troy Murray to Olchek. Beaupre the save, and he grabs the puck at the side of the net.
Well, Don Beaupre isn't going to give this one up easy. The score might be 5-2. He's had a great game, and he's a competitor from the word go. And he'll stand in there until there's no more time left up on that clock.
150 pounds. You know, really, there aren't many large goalies in the National Hockey League. The Tony Esposito's, the Ken Drydens are few and far between.
I guess Barrasso and Buffalo would have to be one of the tallest. It's difficult to move around. Agility seems to be sacrificed with size, and that's one of the reasons why there almost is a limit to the size that hockey players can be. If they get too big, they just can't maneuver. I have some friends in Canada that played professional football. One is 6'8" and weighs 280 pounds. He loved hockey more than football, but couldn't play it because he was too big to move around on skates.
Here's Watson intercepting. Yaremchuk can't get around Kurt Giles. 9:59, Presley's third of the year from Yaremchuk and Watson as Flett blasts it wide. And things really opening up now. Here's Watson again. His backhand shot knocked down at the defense. Marouk gets the puck loose. This is Willie Flett for Minnesota. Ahead out of the reach of Koulis. Intercepting Marouk. His shot goes wide. Blackhawks with a 5-2 lead as both teams change players.
You just saw what the North Stars are going to have to do. Get it in deep, but once they get it in deep to the Chicago zone, they're going to have to chase. If they don't chase, they give it up to the Blackhawks, who are simply going to turn around and dump the puck out of the zone. So when they dump it in, they have to chase.
North Stars, Cicerelli takes the pass from Pryor, dumps it in. And putting pressure are the North Stars on the Blackhawk defense. And Savard looks for Secord and flings the pass too far. Time remaining, 8:20. Blackhawks with a 3-goal lead. They come up with 3 unanswered goals here in the third period. Savard keeps the puck in. Secord and Cicerelli. Steve Larmer hit by Hospodar. Now Secord and Hospodar as O'Callahan drills it, and Hartsburg deflects the puck wide. The Hawks dangerous here. Hartsburg and Secord bumping. Play comes to center ice. And Doug Wilson with a puck. Oh, you could just feel the little edge now. Secord had lost his glove, was caught well offside. Things are still hot and heavy at the stadium where Chicago leads Minnesota 5-2.
Do you know which of these oils gives you the best engine protection under the toughest driving conditions, sub-zero cold or blazing heat? This one, Mobil 1. This winter, buy Mobil 1 in this easy pour container and drive away with the oil that helps you start, even at 35 below.
Bill Clement, I mentioned things were still hot and heavy.
Well, you'd mentioned, Ken, that as we look at a replay, you can see that Al Secord is cut in the nose. You mentioned that he had lost his glove, and here's Hospodar taking exception to Al Secord. What had happened down in the corner was that Secord dropped both of his gloves and grabbed Craig Hartsburg from behind, and at the last minute decided not to throw a punch because Hartsburg was turned around with his back to him, simply let him go, picked up his gloves and came back into the play. That's when he ran into Ed Hospodar, who was standing at center ice.
Since when does Jack O'Callahan help out Al Secord? Al Secord, one of the toughest players the NHL has seen in years. You would have thought he was 5'7", 140 pounds, the way Jack O'Callahan stepped in.
Well, it may be a sign of this Hawk team really coming together. You know, winning does something to a team. It draws you much closer together. And similarly, losing creates all kinds of rifts on a team. So when you can put that winning streak together, you'll see guys doing all kinds of self-sacrificial things on the ice to actually pull together and be a strong team guy. And I'm sure I can hear Bob Pulford and Cliff Coral on the bench now saying to their players, listen, guys, we got plenty of goals to win this game. We're up 5-2. We got a 3-goal cushion. Don't take any chances. And that's when it's time for everybody to subordinate their individual interests out there and really pull together to play tight hockey and not take any chances.
You can see Bob Murray, the Blackhawks captain, telling referee Kerry Fraser, hey, Secord got cut by the stick at the other end. And Fraser said, yeah, that was at the other end. And I really wasn't calling a penalty there as Secord is looked after over on the Blackhawk bench.
I think you can tell that Al Secord has led with his nose before. I'm sure he's had it broken more times than he can count on all fingers and toes. He plays it tough from beginning till end.
It's interesting the way the penalties are handed out. Hospodar gets the 5 minutes for fighting. O'Callahan gets 5 minutes for fighting and 2 minutes for roughing. He almost, and this again is interpretation, almost was a third man in a sense.
I think that's safe to say. I'm sure that's why Kerry Fraser gave him the extra 2-minute penalty. I think if there had been a fight underway and he had jumped in, he would be on his way down the stairs to the Hawks dressing room. But since it was a minor altercation and the rule is third man in gets thrown out of the game, it was a minor altercation. He is spared the disgrace of being banished to the dressing room for a quick shower.
7:42 to go. Third period. Hawks 5, North Stars 2. And as you hockey players say, it's a long way from the heart.
It's a long way from the heart. And interesting to see Denny Savard helping out his buddy Al Secord. They've played on a line together on and off for the last few years, and you got to imagine they're pretty close. Denny Savard was sitting there in a kind of a warm gesture, taking a piece of cotton or a piece of gauze and actually wiping down Al Secord's face. That tells you how close those two are.
Savard has 2 goals. Wayne Presley, Steve Larmer, and Troy Murray have also scored for the Blackhawks, who are trying to win their 9th game in their last 10 and trying to move ahead of St. Louis into first place in the Norris Division. The Hawks are playing in a man short. Minnesota with an opportunity to try to salvage things here late in the 3rd period.
And it won't be that easy, Ken. The Hawks have 7 shorthanded goals, and Rick Patterson, who's on the ice right now, just was in the picture checking, has 4 of those shorthanded goals, so they're dangerous even when they're a man down.
Cicerelli from Bukestad. Broughton is in front. Here's Nielsen over to Hartsburg. Blackhawks going it with Gardner, Patterson, Bob Murray, and Doug Wilson in front of Murray Bannerman. 1:08 to go in the Minnesota power play. Nielsen, and Bannerman makes the save and kicks the puck into the crowd.
He boomed it up into the crowd off of his right pad. I guess that would be the epitome of controlling a rebound, when you actually can stick your pad out there, and all goalies try to direct the rebound. Some of them are far more proficient than others. I think the best I ever saw was Bernie Perron, when he was perhaps the best goalie in the world for 2 years during our Cup years in Philadelphia that I was fortunate enough to be a part of. But when they can control that rebound, they save themselves so many headaches, because the majority of goals in the National Hockey League come off rebounds, and when you can control them, you just take away that headache. It's like taking a huge aspirin every time you can direct one into the corner without leaving it in front of you.
Murray Bannerman coming in with a very elevated goals against average of 5.06 and has had a very strong game tonight, as have the Hawks in general. The Hawks now have had 47 shots on Don Beaupre. They've outshot Minnesota 47-30. 50 seconds left in the 2-minute penalty to O'Callahan. Blackhawks have had 16 shots in this period alone. Minnesota has had only 7 here. They've been outscored 3 goals to none. The stick save by Bannerman on Hartsburg's shot. And Steve Larmer gets the puck out. Here's Brian Bellows to Neil Broughton. Nice move by Broughton. Nielsen again. The shot deflects wide. DuPont and Payne battling in front. 2 big Husky performers. 15 seconds left in the Minnesota power play. They'll try Nielsen again from straight away to Bellows. Rejected by Bannerman. He swats the puck high. It comes down. No fair catch. And finally, Ben Wilson has it. Out of the box comes Presley, who is serving the 2-minute penalty. Steve Larmer centers just out of the reach of Troy Murray. He shoots wide. 5:30 to go. North Stars trailing 5-2, and it's offside at the Chicago blue line. In Chicago, the Hawks lead the North Stars 5-2.
Hey, that girl's checking us out. She pretty? Beautiful. Then fix those dry, chapped lips.
They're hurting, and dragging this hard, waxy stick over them hurts them more.
Try new Bliss Stick. It's great.
Bliss Stick?
Won't hurt going on those sore lips.
It really doesn't hurt. Creamy.
And real medicine helps healing.
Smooth. She's coming over.
Meet my sister.
Bliss Stick, the soft touch for chapped lips.
Take a look at the action in front of Murray Bannerman, and he's as big a part of it as anybody. He's standing behind a crowd, waiting for the shot. It comes, goes up in the air, and following that was the pop fly that Ken talked about, a fair catch. I actually played in a game where the puck went up in the air in the playoffs, and Jim McKinney from Toronto was standing under it yelling fair catch in the heat of battle.
North Stars clear the zone. Blackhawks back at full strength. 5:08 remaining. 3rd period. Troy Murray's shot goes wide, comes in front. Brown shoots and scores! Keith Brown!
As the train whistle sounds here in Chicago to celebrate the Hawks' 6th goal. You know, hockey boards around the rink can be your best friend and your worst enemy, and in this particular case, they were a friend of Keith Brown and an enemy of Don Beaupre. As the puck comes off the boards, Beaupre misplays it. It took a funny bounce, and Keith Brown is Johnny on the spot. I think Beaupre thought it was going to kick right at him, and it kicked between him and the net. Keith Brown just happened to be cruising in. I don't think Keith Brown expected it to be there, but he sure put it away in a big hurry.
Number 6 in the goal-scoring department for Brown. Blackhawks 4 unanswered goals in the final period to take a commanding lead with now just 5 minutes remaining. Anytime you see that goaltender turning around like that, it's like an infielder in baseball backing up on a ground ball. Trouble is usually the next item in the sequence.
Exactly.
This is Koulis, the youngster we talked about, the tough center left wing. Gives the puck to Nielsen, who hands it right back to him. I think I could play wing with Nielsen. He sets you up nicely, doesn't he?
I always wanted to when I played with him. Just give me 20 or 30 games. I know I could get 5 or 6 goals.
You'd have a lot of scoring chances anyway.
Yeah.
6-2. Blackhawks lead it. They intercept. Watson shoots it wide. 14:56, the time of Keith Brown's goal. And there'll be a penalty. Plett and Yaremchuk coming together, and there'll be a high sticking call against the burly Willie Plett. It is Hawks 6, North Stars 2.
Give me a light. No, Bud Light. If you just ask for a light beer,
Thanks.
you never know what you'll get.
Nah, give me a light.
No,
Bud Light.
So if you want the less filling light beer with the first name and taste, don't just ask for a light beer.
Give me a light.
Ask them to bring out their best.
Bud Light.
Bud Light. Because everything else is just a light.
Ken, you mentioned halfway through the period that Minnesota down 2 goals might get a little frustrated and get a little chippy. I never had a chance to answer you. I would have said, had I had a chance, as you see Willie Plett try and decapitate Ken Yaremchuk, I would have said that no, they are concentrating so hard on trying to come back that you probably won't see them getting chippy because the game is not gone. You just saw an example of what happens when the game is gone. Now it's 6-2. Willie Plett's frustrations came out in the form of an emergency decapitation, unauthorized at that.
15:52, 2 minutes for high sticking. That's the polite way to describe it. There'll be a penalty coming up here to Minnesota as Secord was mixing it up in front with Chris Pryor. Bannerman goes to the bench, and finally the penalty is called. And Secord just kind of swarming around. And the North Stars very much frustrated. They had won 5 in a row coming in.
Here's a look at it. Al Secord moving in front to screen. Oh, it's Beaupre that takes the poke at him. And I think Al Secord misread who it was coming from. I'll tell you what.
I'm not so sure. I think he's sort of saying, give me a minute here. I've got other business now.
Yeah, exactly. He's moving in now to Beaupre.
Now live, Beaupre and Secord having words. And, of course, Beaupre, as was so well pointed out earlier, is giving 60 pounds to Al Secord. And that's a mismatch, a lightweight against a heavyweight.
Oh, but he's got a mask on.
And 100 pounds of pads.
Some advantage when you're 150 pounds.
Those goalkeepers love to protect their home. That time Secord really wasn't right in the crease.
No, he wasn't dangerous at all, but that was just a perfect example. Well, Beaupre's actually out of the game, which is an indication that Fraser has assessed an intent to injure penalty and is asking that Beaupre be ejected of the game. He's gone, as you saw him going down the stairs, and that tells you how frustrated he was.
That'll bring out John Casey, who has played very well lately for Minnesota. A youngster who played a couple of games with him 2 years ago and is out of the University of North Dakota in Grand Rapids, Minnesota. Let me give you the last goal by the Blackhawks, the Keith Brown goal. To give you the assists, Troy Murray and Bob Murray at 14:56. Beaupre here at 16:11. Just seconds after Plett's 2-minute high sticking penalty, gets a 2-minute slashing penalty and a game misconduct. Keep in mind, Keith Acton was ejected for spearing in the first period.
Here's a look at it again. Beaupre from left field. If anybody wonders what the definition of slashing is, you just saw a perfect example of it. Beaupre is gone. Casey is in.
For the novice, we should point out there is no padding on the back of the calf.
I wanted to mention that. There is a small piece of felt that usually comes around there. Some of it is lined with a bit of fiberglass or a piece of plastic, but by and large, the calf muscle in the back of the legs is unprotected because very seldom is there any damage done to it. You're always trying to face the play. It's when you get turned around, you either get hit in the back of the leg with a shot or slashed. And as you saw Don Beaupre slash Al Secord.
Casey, as we mentioned, has seen a lot of action. He played last Tuesday night, New Year's Eve at home, in a 6-3 North Stars victory over Calgary. Warren Henning's been very pleased with his work in goal.
Well, you can only think that the situation is going to get worse for the North Stars now, down 2 men with 3 minutes to go, 3 minutes and some seconds to go in the game.
Blackhawks lead 6-2. They have a 2-man advantage as Kent Nielsen clears the puck.
And you know, Ken, I really have to admire the way Gary Fraser took hold of this game in the early going. Threw Keith Acton out of the game for spearing, sent Don Beaupre, and that's a sign of some decisive calling. I think there are a lot of referees that wouldn't have sent those players out of here.
Blackhawks will set it up. Nielsen, 2 defensemen, Giles and Hartsburg, trying to kill a penalty against Casey, who doesn't even have a sweat yet. Here's Secord. Blackhawks have scored 1 power play goal. That was back in period 1. This is Savard. Secord trying to get it by Casey, and he can't. You know, Dennis Savard so often reminds you of a ballerina, has that soft touch, almost as though he's dancing on the toes of his skates.
He almost looks as if he's out of control. Here's a look at a 5-on-3 from our overhead camera. You can see that the Minnesota North Stars are doing their best to spread out, but that leaves Hawks on either side of the net. You can see Secord on one side. Now they're behind the net. But with those 2 North Stars out at the top of the circle as they are now, it leaves 1 defender in front of the net helping Casey out. And when the Hawks end up with 2 people on the side of the net, it's really almost a gimme if you have any kind of power play at all. You should be able to get golden opportunities on every 5-on-3.
Blackhawks 2 men short for another 2-man power play for another 45 seconds. And Casey makes a nice save on Troy Murray. Again, the shot. And Troy Murray fails to put it in. 2 good scoring opportunities for Troy Murray. 6-2 Hawks. North Stars 2 men short. Watson back to the point. Ben Wilson over to Keith Brown. And the shot hits a player in front, either Troy Murray or Kurt Giles. It never reached Casey.
And Ken, the Hawks have hit the 50-shot mark, so you can tell that they've been blitzing the entire night. It's been a long night for Don Beaupre. He's resting now, but it was tough in the going when he was here.
Keith Brown shoots, and Troy Murray just trying to stuff it in, unable to. Now Pletz back on. Blackhawks with a 1-man advantage. 2:04 to go in regulation play, and a big 4-goal Hawk lead. Watson unable to get good wood on that shot. Here's Troy Murray. Back to Ben Wilson. And that's stopped by Casey. Now Bellows is back on. He was serving the penalty to Beaupre, and both teams are at full strength as Olczyk cuts in on the left wing. And that high drive ends up way back in the Blackhawk zone as the 2 teams change on the fly.
What a shot this kid Olczyk has. Wait till he grows up.
Can you imagine? Very mature as he is at 19 years of age. Down to 1:22 remaining. Blackhawks about to win their 4th straight, 9 wins in their last 10 games. And if they can hold on, they'll move into first place solely in the Norris Division, 2 points ahead of Idle St. Louis. Blackhawks have outshot Minnesota 51-32. And any night you get 40 shots, you've been really peppering the opposition goal. With a stoppage in play, let's get some updates from around the NHL with Jim Kelly.
All right, Kenny, all finals in tonight. The Kings on top over Buffalo by that 3-2 score. Brad Park gets his first win as the head coach in Detroit. The Red Wings hung on against the Maple Leafs. Quebec 5, the Rangers 4. Goulet gets his 30th there. The Jets whitewash the Canucks 4-0. And Gretzky gets his 28th as the Oilers breeze Calgary 6-3.
That's all he has is 28. What's wrong with him?
At any given day, he can break out of, well, it's a slump for him, I guess, but on any given day, Wayne Gretzky will just tear it loose and get Oh, 16 or 17 goals in
wow.
6 or 7 games.
Plett muscles Watson. North Stars with a puck, but down 6-2, 45 seconds remaining. Here's Willie Plett coming in front, and Maruk is stopped by Bannerman. Yaremchuk leaves the puck at his defense, and Brown clears the zone. 2-2 game coming into this period as Plett sets up Maruk, and he can't beat Bannerman again from close range.
Almost an impossible angle to shoot from. He was so twisted around, but he was able to spin around Bannerman. Johnny on the spot, as he has been all night. 33 shots is not a low total either, and Bannerman's only allowed 2 goals. The North Stars haven't pressured him much late in the game, but for the first period and a half, he earned his paycheck too.
Now 4 seconds remaining. The Blackhawks will move into sole possession of first place in the Norris Division. A happy, standing room only crowd here at the stadium in Chicago. Bob Pulford is happy. Murray Bannerman congratulated by his teammates. Dennis Savard right there in the middle. He led the way with 2 goals tonight. His 24th and 25th of the season. And Bill Clement, a very exciting game, and the Hawks just took it away in the final period.
That was a great hockey game. 6-2, the Hawks won, but that really wasn't an indication of the actual play for 2 of the periods. That was the final. It was Hawks 6 and Minnesota 2.
And we'll be right back at Chicago Stadium after this message.
Hey, you're wasting time with a beat-up old tank when you could be putting money back in the bank. Drive a brand new car, not an old gas hog. We can make it easy as falling off a log. You can own a Dodge, get rid of that wreck. Come in to Moss Motors, save a bushel and a peck. Looking for a dependable used car? At Moss Motors, we back every used car with our new 30-day, 3,000-mile warranty. That's right, choose from our huge inventory of fine used cars with confidence. They all now carry our new 30-day, 3,000-mile warranty only at Moss Motors Dodge. We have Ram Charger, Chevy Charger, van conversions too. Moss Motors has them all just to pamper you. We have more new cars than anyone in town, and our used car department is the best around. And we have service that won't make you nervous. No Dodge dealer anywhere is growing so fast. We're the Riverside Auto Center's dealer with class.
I'm Glenn Moss.
I'm Jay Moss.
I'm Abe Moss. Let us make your family a Dodge family too.
Oh, no.
Yep, Grandpa and the girls are at it again.
They say you can't keep a good man down. Sooner or later, he'll come back around. Rising up on his own 2 feet. Might have been down, but he can't be beat. The pride is back, born in America. The pride is back, born in America. The best is born in America.
The pride is back with Plymouth. Front-wheel drive Voyager, Reliant K, Turismo Duster, 550 protection plan. Plymouth, the pride is back. Born in America again.
The pride is back, born in America again.
Well, deuces were wild after the second period. It was Minnesota 2 and Chicago 2, but 4 unanswered goals by the Blackhawks in period number 3, and a big 6-2 win for the Chicago Blackhawks. They win their 18th game on the year, and in those 18 games, in 11 of those games, Chicago has scored first. So one 5-game winning streak comes to an end. That would be Minnesota's, and another 5-game winning streak continues. That would be the Blackhawks. The Blackhawks, by virtue of their 2 points tonight against Minnesota, move into sole possession of first place in the Norris Division. Meanwhile, the St. Louis Blues, 2 points behind with 38, and with 35 points currently in the 3rd spot, the North Stars of Minnesota. Minnesota, they'll get ready to take on the New York Islanders on the island on Tuesday night. Meanwhile, the Devils of New Jersey invade Chicago Stadium. They'll be the Blackhawks' next opponent on Wednesday night. Some final thoughts now from Ken Wilson and Bill Clement.
All right, Jim, good hockey game. I liked it a lot. Some wide open play, still some defense. And, of course, you see the Hawks, you see Dennis Savard. He led the way with 2.
Well, I mentioned early in the game, where is Denny Savard? He wasn't really playing that much, and he hadn't had that many opportunities, even when he was on the ice. I didn't have a chance to say, because we got back to the play, that sooner or later we would see Denny Savard, and we did. He ended up with two goals, one of them gorgeous. And the hockey game virtually had everything, a little bit of everything, from the best of every aspect of the game.
Chicago Blackhawks playing very well. They move into first place, as Jim pointed out. They look like they can be a very, very good team.
They're hot right now and playing very well, and I truly believe that they have the personnel to be a force in the National Hockey League. They went to the finals of the conference last year and could very well be there again this year. They're on a roll now, and they'll just keep it going.
So a good game tonight here in Chicago before a standing room only crowd. The Hawks beat the North Stars 6-2. Jim Kelly will be back right after these messages.
American Express presents Do You Know Me? A look at the lives and careers of famous athletes. This week's American Express sports personality was a star in collegiate and pro basketball. At LaSalle, he was a member of the NCAA University Division champs in 1954 and later won an NBA championship ring. We'll tell you who he is after this word from American Express.
Do you know me? I'm one of the best-known cowboys in Texas. But a lot of people don't recognize me in a cowboy hat. So I just carry the American Express card. It can help you out in plenty of tough situations because you never know when you're going to be surrounded by redskins. Howdy.
To apply for the card, look for this display and take one.
The American Express card. Don't leave home without it.
Do you know this week's American Express sports personality? He's one of only 2 major college players to score over 2,000 points and grab over 2,000 rebounds in a career. With the NBA, he helped propel the Philadelphia Warriors to the title in his rookie year. After 5 All-Star team selections, he left the league to pursue a coaching career, returning to LaSalle. He's Tom Gola, this week's American Express sports personality.
So the Blackhawks win their 9th game in 10 tries, their 5th in a row by virtue of that 6-2 win against the Minnesota North Stars. This was the 4th meeting of the season between these two Norris division rivals. Minnesota now has won 1, the Blackhawks have won 2, and there's been 1 tie. They'll meet 4 more times, 2 times in Minnesota and 2 more times back here in Chicago Stadium. Again, the Devils of New Jersey come into Chicago Stadium on Wednesday night, and the Minnesota North Stars play the New York Islanders on the island on Tuesday night. 6-2 the final, a big rivalry in the Norris division. Chicago takes over sole possession of first place, 2 points ahead of St. Louis, 3 in front of Minnesota. The NHL on ESPN has been brought to you tonight by Plymouth, a division of Chrysler Corporation. The pride is back, born in America again. By new Premier Bliss Tack, the soft touch for chapped lips. Now this is Jim Kelly for Tom Mees, Ken Wilson.